Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey.
I think this is when it happened.
Okay,
Oh my god.
I did try to warn you.
Some people still driving around, huh?
It's the worst part. When you still expect to find the road that takes you home. It's the part that's cruel.
Maybe we missed the sign for the highway.
We didn't miss the sign.
Where are we? So you're telling me I'm in a mystical town. I can't leave.
These woods are not safe after dark.
I can still hear those things whispering. We are stuck.
I'm gonna find us a way out of this place.
Everyone in this town has been exactly where you are right now. There are things you need to know about where you are. This is gonna be the worst night of your life. Do you believe in monsters?
And welcome all to another edition of the Fromville Hour, back to the beginning. And here we are, folks. I always love diving back into the very beginning of From every time we finish a new season. And diving back into episode 1 was tons of fun. And I'm very much looking forward to diving into episode 2, because just on my quick little rewatch, I noticed a few things that I definitely see in a different context now, having seen season 4. So there are a few little gems here that I did pick up on, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys pick up on as well in your rewatch time. But yeah, season 1, episode 2, one of my favorite episodes of all time. This, of course, is the famous episode where Ethan first recounts his very awesome and vivid dream of the Lake of Tears and everything that foreshadows. So episode 2 is a good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching 1 and 2 together. It kind of reminded me of how much I really liked, I mean, it reminded me of why I got into the show in the first place.
Yeah.
It really did. And this one was kind of like jam-packed. They told a lot of story in the runtime that they had in 47 minutes. They fit a lot of information in there, and it didn't feel to me like we were just getting, I mean, it was exposition, but it was really wrapped up nicely. It was really dressed up in a way that it didn't feel like we're just getting a backstory of the town and everything else just read to us.
No.
Yeah, it was super cool. I enjoyed this episode.
No, me too. Me too. The way I look at episode one, where episode one introduces us to the characters in the setting for the most part, but episode two really kind of kicks the door open on the world building aspect of Fromville, where we learn a little bit more about the town, the inner workings of the town, this kind of divide, this division that is among them, this choosing ceremony. Like, we get a lot of interesting kind of foundational pieces in this episode that are kind of the building blocks for the town going forward. So that's kind of how I look at the first two episodes. Episode one really, introduces us to the characters incredibly well, and episode two really kind of kicks the door open on the world building. So I love these first two episodes. The first 4 episodes of season 1 are probably my favorite 4 episodes of all time, with the exception of maybe episode 7 of season 1 as well. But these first 4 episodes in particular, it's such a master class in how to get an audience hooked on characters, on the world, on the setting, on the mystery, on the plot. Like, they just set everything up so beautifully within these first 4 episodes. The lore, all of it. By the time you get to episode 4, you already know about faraway trees. You already have a little bit better understanding of how this place is, way more than it seems to be. These first 4 episodes are just really, really good storytelling and how to set up a story.
Absolutely. And they had, ironically, it's the first hints of, I don't want to call it character creep, but we see so many different people. I mean, they even introduced, they introduced Nathan, they introduced like a lot of like secondary characters. And I think that's why the exposition came off so well, because it wasn't the same person just relating, point after point after point about the world. It was Fatima explaining it to Julie. It was Sarah and Nathan having their little conversation. Just different pieces, different scenarios at different locations, and it really gelled in real nice. We kind of got an idea that Ellis is kind of a petulant punk. We don't know why yet. We don't know why, but we it's become very clear in this episode that there's the the tension between Boyd and Ellis. And we don't know the reasoning behind it, but we just know that Ellis doesn't want anything to do with Boyd. And then Fatima being, the hippy dippy, peaceful, happy person, that she is right up until she isn't.
Again, I feel like this episode, it does a really good job at just kind of really bursting through that door and showing you, okay, this is exactly how the town is set up. This is the inner workings. This is the kind of power dynamics that are going on. And yes, right off the bat, we definitely get the sense. You get the sense right off the bat who likes each other and who doesn't like each other super quick. Whether it's the tension between Boyd and Donna, the tension between Boyd and Ellis, the tension just between the town and Colony House in general. They established this kind of line, pretty well. Even going so far as to having newcomers enter the town literally have to choose where they want to live. Like, the town couldn't be more divided when the show starts, which is very interesting to see how that kind of evolves, how those barriers slowly start to come down. And that's largely in part of Boyd and Donna really starting to become closer, starting to become, more trusting of one another. And then, of course, the mending of the relationship between Boyd and Ellis definitely helps as well. But again, it just, these first 2 are just really, really good in terms of setting up the story for the long haul. Good foundational blocks on storytelling.
Oh yeah, and they left us with the the cliffhanger at the end of episode 1, where the monsters are approaching the RV. They paid that off immediately, and we saw them approaching, but then we also got the the indicator that there was something more to the talismans, because our introduction to the talisman was Boyd picking it up off the ground at the Pratt house and putting it in his pocket. Now we get the indication that, okay, well, there's something to this, and they don't and it's been made very clear that they don't understand why it works, but that it works. Even in the RV, when they secure the RV, we don't know how it works, but we know that it works. And again, that was a huge risk they took. Even Boyd said he doesn't know if it's going to work in the RV. And it was Christy said, it'll work. Kind of like,
and that's the thing. That's what's so fun about some of these earlier episodes, that not only are, we as the audience kind of going along for this ride and we're learning about the town of From brand new, but the characters as well. And I think that's what's fun about entering the town with the Matthews family and with Jade, because we see the Matthews family go on this journey. And we're going on that journey along with them. As the Matthews family learn a little bit more about this town, we learn a little bit more about this town. And I like how it's kind of set up that way, where the characters and the audience are kind of on that even playing field, at least in the beginning. As the show continues, yes, the audience definitely gets the upper hand, where we just have that audience bird's eye view of all of the characters, whereas our characters don't have that. But at the beginning, it's very kind of that even playing field, where us and the Matthews family just learning about From together, going on this journey and learning about these talismans, this place, the monsters, the inner workings, all of it. And that's what's fun, kind of seeing, not only the Matthews family react to all of this, but the audience react to it as well, because we're all, finding it out for the same time. And I like how the story evolves like that for, the first few episodes of season 1.
Definitely.
But we have Chiquita Cyborg, who has just gifted 2 jewels and a silver star to the channel. Thank you so much, Chiquita Cyborg, for the gift of the 2 jewels. I very, very, very much appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, these, and in terms of the talismans as well. And yeah, what did you think of Patty? Good old Patty. Good old Patty Cake. Good old Patty. Patty says, relax. Yeah, man, good old Patty. Good old Patty. And this is what's going to be fun for me about kind of doing some of these rewatches, is seeing some of these background characters to see if they are in, if we can spot them in any other earlier scenes. Because Patty, has been around for a little while. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Where are these? Where's NPC Roger first going to pop up? Because we know Roger, or NPC Roger, goes all the way back to the storming of Tien Chen's house and stealing all of her food. It's one of the main reasons why I had so much beef with him during season 4. He had just committed so many atrocities over the years. So that's going to be fun, kind of going back on these rewatches and kind of looking in the background, see if I can spot these freaking these NPC sinners in our midst.
It took a Patty to almost redeem Tabitha, because I was posting trains in the chat. I was on the Tabitha hate train. But, Patty just was like, hold my beer. She's my...
hold my beer. I'll show you what's up.
Yeah, you think Tabby's a bad character. Hold my beer.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's what I love about these first few episodes. We're learning about the talismans for the first time. We're learning about all of how this stuff works for the first time. And I like how you mentioned earlier, like even Boyd. Like Boyd's been in this town for a while. At this point, we don't exactly know how long ago the talismans were found. It's been a little while. Boyd's been in the town for like 3 years. So they've been relatively safe for a little while with these talismans. They've gotten used to that kind of safety. But even after all that, even after a few years of being safe, they still just don't know the mechanisms on how these work. So I love that, going back, now that we are diving back into season 1, one of the things that I always like to go revisit is some of these earlier behind the scenes featurettes that we get for the very first season. Because I have to imagine there's probably a lot of From fans that haven't even seen some of these behind the scenes features, whether you came into From during like season 2 or season 3 or even season 4 and kind of caught up. You go back and look at some of this earlier stuff, and I feel like there is just gold mines here of information for us to pick up on. And this one is in particular surrounding the talismans and the scene that Ravener was just talking about.
These talismans, they will protect the houses in town. I don't know why it works, but you got one of those, you keep the doors and windows shut, they can't get in. Never tried it on a vehicle.
This is impossible.
Yeah, it is. You're coming. You put up your talisman every night, and you keep your family safe.
The only thing standing between these creatures that come from the forest are these things that they hang on the door.
Oh my God, long hair, John Griffin.
I don't know.
I totally forgot that he used to have long hair.
Do not enter sign for the monsters.
Wait a minute.
You keep standing between these creatures.
I totally forgot that his hair used to be that long. I'm so used to seeing him with short hair now. But yeah, I totally fucking forgot. He had like a full on, like, awesome head of hair at the beginning of the series. Oh, shit.
Between these creatures that come from the forest are these things that they hang on the door.
Will that even work?
I don't know.
It'll work. It's kind of a do not enter sign for the monsters.
People used to crawl into the bushes, find a place
He
to
does a
hide,
bit, right? He does.
pray that they
With the
made it
long
through
hair.
till
Looks a
morning.
bit like Victor.
There are 12 different talismans. They're all unique. They are made from fake stone.
And this was where we learned that there are 12 different talismans, because that was one thing that, you know, you don't really get that piece of information on the actual show. And this is one thing that From kind of does a lot with a lot of this behind the scenes features. Like in season 1, remember when they were putting out all of those missing person posters? And that's how we kind of found out, like, you know, who these characters' last names were, where they were traveling to and from when they got stuck in Fromville. Information that you don't learn if you only watch the episodes. So watching these behind the scenes stuff, I remember how it would give us like world building stuff and like extra lore that they maybe just didn't fit into the actual episode. And I remember this one sticking with the whole fandom when this thing first played, how we figured out this is how we know that there are 12 talismans exactly. We hear it directly from Matt Likely himself, the head of the art department, the one who built the talismans himself. So that's why I think these little behind the scenes snippets are super beneficial all these years later.
There are 12 different talismans. They're all unique. They are made from fake stone to look like slate.
They have these like little ornate stenciling on them.
They're etched by hand. There's a certain amount of symbology on them.
The imagery is not accidental. It's a specific clue that our characters don't necessarily understand, but it is information that's valuable.
Like all religious symbols, they're keeping out the bad stuff and they're blessing your home with goodness as opposed to the horrible stuff we imagine that could get inside.
Okay, so that's interesting, you know, and that's one thing that we hear that we've been wondering for a while ever since we've heard this. You know, Jeff Pickner straight up says that these talismans, not only do they keep out the monsters, but these symbols are going to mean something. This is not just random doodlings on here to make it look ancient. These symbols have, you know, a very specific meaning. It's a very specific clue that's going to mean something for our characters later on. And PM and I have been talking about this for a while, and I know PM believes that these symbols on the talismans might potentially end up being directions, you know, for whatever ritual that Jade and Tabitha need to potentially kind of enact to save the children. And I could totally see it being something like that, but it seems like it's going to be something that they're going to need to know, some kind of information that's going to be valuable to them once they really decipher what these symbols really mean. That's why, again, and that's stuff you don't get if you only watch the episodes. You know, you see some of this behind the scenes stuff. It's the only chance you're going to kind of get to learn some of this extra stuff.
Yeah, I definitely dug the missing posters and stuff. That kind of backstory was super interesting to figure out. You know who is like you said, who is traveling from where to where, you know, when they disappeared, and get a relative sense of what order they did without the story having to tell you explicitly. You know, I know Donna's been there. Well, she flat out says it's like 3 years, like 6 months and X number of days. And then we have the 1 year anniversary of Fatima's arrival, the night of the massacre. But yeah, you kind of get a sense of exactly how long people have been there and the exact date too. You know, when people are listed as missing. Yeah. It's just these nice little tidbits of information. This, you know, extra little bit of world building, extra little bit of character development, information that they couldn't fit in the episodes, but they can give it to the audience in other ways like this. And it helps, you know, it helps paint a better picture of these characters and, you know, the world and the setting that the story's taking place in. Yeah. I mean, it made it more. I mean, that's why I fell in love with this in these first couple episodes, because especially harkening back to what you were saying is that we were learning about the world at the same rate as the Matthews family was learning about it. That made it so relatable. I got so so into it because, again, that was always where I felt the show was the strongest, and I think that also coincided with the monster episodes. you put yourself in, because the monster episodes were always immediate. It wasn't just storytelling where okay, then this happens, then we got to this scene and these two people are talking, and then we go to this scene and these two people are talking. With the monsters, it becomes immediate peril, immediate struggle of life and death, and it's so you can put yourself in that situation. Oh my God, what would I do in this situation? This person is not acting like I would, so I don't like that person. This person is acting like I think I would, so I do like this person. Or and it's, when Jade falls down as they're crossing the street, it's like, oh fuck, do you leave him? Do you just keep running? But the thing is, that was it was a fun scene, even though it wasn't filmed. I think they kind of developed, and they've done it twice now with the camera in the vehicle as it's driving along. First, the one when they're driving to town with Ellis, after he had been stabbed, and then the second time, of course, with the Patty scene. But this time, you get that feeling like when they're racing right before they get into Colony House, the Matthews and Jade get into Colony House. They're running and Jade falls down, and Kenny's ushering everybody, hurry, 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 because there's only a couple people in that group that know exactly how much danger they're in. Everybody else is like, oh yeah, go back and get it. Go. If you fall down, it's like, oh, I need help. Fuck that, man. You
gotta get your ass up. Fucking Jade too, and of course it's Jade falling down every 2 seconds because he's high as a fucking kite. You're right. I mean, you got Kenny, you got Father Cautry, and Ellis. They're the only three in that group that know what was really about to happen here, and they're trying to get the Matthews family in. They're trying to get a fucked up Jade in. It's a nightmare, but that's what's so good about these earlier episodes. They put these characters in these super intense situations right off the bat. Like, you don't have to wait very long for From to really, really kick into high gear. And I think that's why the first 10 minutes of the very first episode landed so well with so many people. Seeing Megan get killed by the granny monster, the first 7 minutes of the episode, it's like, okay, we're really getting right into it. And it kind of never really lets up in terms of like the overall danger level that you kind of feel throughout the entirety of season 1. And you talk about the monsters in terms of like how they show up. It's like it's instant danger. And I totally agree with that. When I look at the monsters, I almost equate them to like sharks on land. Like, that feeling if you're in water and a shark kind of swims near you. If anyone has ever had that feeling, you have that instant feeling of instant danger. It's super freaking scary. And that's kind of how, I imagine our characters must feel the second they see the monsters or, show up. It's like, okay, instant fucking danger is, closing in on us. That's kind of how I view them. They're like these sharks on land kind of feeling, to where as soon as they show up, just their very presence is menacing and dreadful. And that's what made these monsters, and that's what makes these monsters so fun and so unique. And I think that's why this, the show From has landed with so many people, because we have like a new kind of unique kind of horror villain that is a little bit different. Yes, it's similar in some ways as well, with, some vampiric qualities and stuff like this. But in terms of like what they are, it is like a unique take on something. So I think that's why people love the monsters so much. And that's why in later seasons, when we see kind of the show not focus on the monsters in certain episodes, those tend to be the episodes that fans like the least.
Right. Yeah. And that analogy with the shark is spot on, because when you see the fin, that is 100% of your attention is focused on that. It's not on anything. It's not, I'll do one more thing and then go. It's, I got to get out of here. And I liked how they established that they walk. They don't. So they're an imminent threat. They're 100% lethal, always to be taken seriously. But it's not like say like a mountain lion coming out of the woods, or like an animal or something that's either going to attack or go away. This thing will 100%. They're almost. I mean, they are like stereotypical monsters. They're like a monster you'd find in a game. Their programming is 100% to attack, 100% to get you, and they will get you. They're not
it's
to be
just a matter of time.
Yeah.
No, it's just, it has that kind of feeling when they pop up. They're sharks on land, essentially. Super freaking menacing. And thank you, Christine Jellybean, for the gift of the 10 jewels and the gold coin. Wow, thank you so much. Very, very much appreciate that. That is awesome. And the wonderful, awesome PM Philosophy has just gifted some jewels as well. Thank you so much, my dear PM, for these 6 jewels and the makeup brush. Of course, the makeup brush, super fitting for our PM. Thank you. And for the another 6 jewels, thank you so much, my awesome PM. Wow, thank you guys. Thank you all so much for the gift of the jewels. I owe you guys a whoa. I owe you guys a glitter whoa. Glitter bomb.
Yeah, I need one. Yeah, I need a makeup brush.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't need a makeup brush? I know everybody does every once in a while. Oh, and we got another one. We got another makeup brush from the wonderful PM as well. Thank you so much, PM, for the makeup brush and the 6 jewels. I very much appreciate you.
I always say I look like those like every Viking show, they have like the super ripped Viking with the cool hair and the 6-pack abs. Yeah. I'm like when he goes to his hometown and sees his dad. I'm like the dad of that guy.
Makeup brush for you and one for Ravener. See, there you go. One is for you, Ravener, as well. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, let's play the last few seconds of this, and then we will dive into the rest of season 1, episode 2. And again, I love these earlier episodes when you go back and revisit from the beginning after a new season. It just always some good stuff to find.
And they're blessing your home with goodness as opposed to the horrible stuff we imagine that could get inside.
Why they work is unclear, but why question it?
And that is an answer that will be given at the end of the series.
So how's this work?
Oh God, Jim, no.
Ooh. Okay, so not only will we 100% get a definitive answer as to what the symbols actually mean on the talismans, but we will get a 100% definitive answer as to why the talismans work. Why do these work? Why do these work in this very specific way? And why do they only keep out the monsters? I guess is another question that I want to see. Because we've seen that these talismans do not keep out anything else. They only work on the monsters. They didn't keep out the kimono creature. They certainly didn't keep out the demonic Kool-Aid men. It seems like, and they certainly didn't keep out the cicada entity in season 2, like the entity that they were dealing with in the 2nd season. Didn't keep that out as well. So it seems like these rocks, these talismans, are specifically only for the monsters. So I have to imagine we'll get an answer as to why that is.
Yeah, and that'll be super cool as well too. Because we didn't know until very late in I guess in season 4 that these things, like each enemy has its specific counter, but I have to assume that at some point they tried setting the monsters on fire. It didn't, they obviously had tried shooting the monsters, and that doesn't affect them. But the talismans are effective against the nightmare creatures only. But yeah, like you said, it didn't do anything for the dolls, and that kind of tells us the dolls are of a different nature or of a different cut from a different cloth, so to speak, than the monsters. So yeah, it's very interesting, and we have it in black and white. There, he flat out says we are going to fully understand the nature of the talismans by the end of the series, which I was always about that. I mean, I more than theorizing and trying to find significance in different things, I just wanted to understand the actual mechanics behind the world. What are the rules? We got a few more answers, a great answer at the end of season 4 as far as finding out exactly what is the nature of the relationship between the man in yellow / Sophia in yellow and the boy in white. But so we got a little bit more of an idea of what's going on altogether in Fromville. But I really get into the mechanics, like what is the nature of these talismans, how do they work, why do they work, And that'll be a wonderful answer. And I always consider that to be like, I considered it to be a small answer, like something that they could tell you without spoiling everything. But maybe they can't tell you without spoiling everything. Maybe they're more significant than I had, had anticipated early on in these early episodes and early on in the season. I wanted to know, what are these, the what and the why? What is this world that we're living in? What are the rules? Yeah. And we hear from Boyd a few times. We hear, different times. I think maybe Donna a few times throughout the series. They still don't know the rules. They, there's still a lot of things that the characters themselves don't understand about the nature of the place that they're inhabiting. So,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, here we are 4 seasons in, and we're still learning the rules. I mean, yes, we have a much better idea as to what Fromville is and what some of these rules are, but there is still so much that we still don't know and that our characters still don't know. And heading into the 5th and final season, it is pretty interesting to see how are they going to wrap all this up, because they have a lot. Like, they got quite a lot to wrap up and only 1 season left to do it in. So I want to see it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they're going to wrap everything up. But yeah, going back to the beginning, love this episode in particular, season 1, episode 2. We learned so much stuff that really has been the basis for so many, theories and foreshadowings going forward. And we're going to talk about a few of them here in a minute as well. But first, we have another gift of 100 jewels, Marshmallow High. Thank you so much, OW5223, for the 100 jewels. Wow, thank you so much. Very, very much appreciate that. Wow. Definitely owe you a glitter bomb. Whoa. Holy hell. Thank you so much for the 100 jewels. Very much appreciate it. All right, let's dive into this a little bit more. But before we dive into some of those things, another thing we get, very early on is the box. The box is such a big part of season 1, in particular, the first 2 or 3 episodes, where, it kind of looms over the entirety of season 1 as this kind of dreadful thing. And I think the show does a very good job of making sure we, as the audience, actually see someone get put in this box and see what happens to them. And even more so when you get to the next episode and you see Boyd open up the box and you see the fucking state that Frank is inside of it. I just feel like the show did a great job setting this box thing up in season 1, this box side storyline, where this thing was very a hot button issue. In terms of, anytime something happened with one of our characters, that would be the first thing that the fandom would start to discuss. Does this character belong in the box? Does Sarah belong in the box? Does this character belong in the box? So I love how much or how well they set up the box in those first few episodes. And here we have an interesting look at that.
When someone's actions or negligence leads to the death of a resident, the only punishment for that crime is a night in the box.
But you keep one of those talismans in there, right?
No.
Jesus.
No.
The people in town live by a more strictly enforced code.
If anyone dies because of you not following the rules, then you have to go into a place that I created called the box.
A man protects his family, Frank.
Which basically means you're going to be put out at night without the protection of a talisman.
The box was an interesting challenge for us. It was not described as anything specific in the script, so I wanted to find something that you might find in a town that's a regular object. We found a great old horse trailer. And it's quite gnarly when you look at the rust and the grates and the holes, and the wooden sides were replaced with balsa wood breakaway sides.
I built the goddamn box as a deterrent. It's supposed to scare people.
What happens next time? You built a guillotine in the town square. What do you think happens when people realize you lack the conviction to use it?
And this is why I love the kind of dynamic between Khatri and Boyd so much in season 1. I feel like out of all of the characters on From, out of all of the actors on From, when it comes to 2 characters having the most amount of chemistry and just on-screen presence together, I really feel that Boyd and Khatri is very hard to top. Incredibly difficult to top the chemistry that these 2 actors have. And I just love the dynamic in the beginning where Boyd is just struggling with this kind of decision so hard to use this box. He had hoped that just the very fact of him building the box would be a deterrent, that he would never even have to come close to ever even thinking about really using it. But that's the thing, when you build a guillotine in the town square, yes, you might not want to use it, but you have to at least have the conviction to use it if you have to. Otherwise, as Father Khatri says, what do you think people are going to figure out when you don't have that kind of conviction in you, when people are looking to you to lead? So again, this is just what I love about the storytelling of From in season 1 and the character development that we get from so many of these characters. We see the struggles that they're going through. We see these things that they're weighing with. Boyd in particular has such a good story arc in the first season. When you see, you can tell he's just a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders, trying to keep everything in place. And I feel like that is heaviest in season 1. It's just really good storytelling in these first few episodes.
Oh yeah. Really putting Frank in the box. Now, if Frank didn't almost like volunteer himself to go into the box, if he was crying and resisting and begging and pleading, that would have been so much harder on Boyd. I think Frank's acquiescence to his sentence, plus the fact that he didn't have anything left after his entire family was killed, that made it easier on Boyd to make that decision. I don't know that Boyd could have gone through. And I thought it was super cool that, of all the people, the priest in the town is the one telling Boyd that he has to go through with the execution, essentially, which was, kind of, again, it kind of like puts you on the back foot. You're like, what the heck is going on here? And, Khatri made good points. I mean, historically, you would do that. You'd put up a gibbet or something, not that you're going to hang people, but just that it was a possibility. They did it with pirates and stuff. They would, after you were executed, they'd put you in a gibbet, which is like a cage, a suspended cage, and they'd put it, out on the port or whatever, so that the next guy coming through that's thinking about piracy sees the exact results of what their choice might be, and maybe it can act as a deterrent. And Khatri laid it out for Boyd right there. You've built a guillotine. What happens if people realize that you're not going to use it. That is super harsh. And I kind of like how he said, if your decision to not follow the rules, or if your failure to follow the rules ends up in somebody being dead. So it's not just a catch-all punishment, or I stole an extra turnip from the.
No, it's the loss of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super, super cool how they established that. And I guess it must have just been good fortune that they had that horse trailer, because at this point I don't imagine, I can't envision it as anything else. Any other box, any other makeshift thing that they would have constructed wouldn't have had the same kind of grittiness or like grounding us in that world as taking something like a rusty old horse trailer and converting it into their punishment method, which again, super, super cool. These are great, man. This first season really, really is. It really is
so freaking good. This first season, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. And this is actually, a good point as well. And I guess, when it comes to Father Khatri, sometimes some of his views, some of his positions are a little bit more on the kind of Old Testament side. For a priest, Father Khatri was too determined for Boyd to use the box. And again, Father Khatri is, he was very clear about it. He wasn't trying to hide it in any means. He was very much pushing for Boyd to use this box. And I think that's because, Khatri sees the ramifications of maybe not using it, of the whole guillotine kind of metaphor. But being a priest, being a man of the cloth, does Khatri push a little too hard maybe to get Boyd to use this box? I think that's an interesting question, at the very least, and an interesting kind of perspective, because again, he does go pretty hard. I love the dynamic between the two. I love how Khatri is always just kind of giving Boyd like the straight up tea, like he sugarcoats anything. But I could also see that how sometimes that might come off a little jarring coming from someone like Khatri, who is a priest. I just think it just makes the character that much more interesting.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, the fact that they're again, it's kind of like not a church and state thing, but it's like they both have a certain amount of respect in influence in the community, so they can kind of talk to each other as equals, like as decision makers. And even though Boyd is the one ultimately making the decisions as the sheriff, Khatri gets to be kind of like the conscience, kind of like, but he's also, I mean, as we're seeing here, he's very pragmatic. He's very realistic about how things go, about controlling masses, about controlling people. And, like, hey, like if the people realize that they're not going to be punished, if this box is just, like a figure, not an actual threat, then what's going to happen? I would say, I'm trying to think how you get somebody who is, you automatically think the man of the cloth, the preacher, the whatever is going to be, the peace, the peace, love, and and I guess that was his job. Like he had to, but again, he also had to. He was the one that had to scoop up Megan and Lauren Pratt and put them away too. Maybe. Everybody has a different personality, and even even a priest, like they might be on the forgiveness thing, the forgiveness side, and you have to do this stuff, or they're especially in Catholicism. I mean, it is all about rules. There is a way to do things, and when you get like not bogged down, but when you become very rigid in your following of the rules and insistence that the rules be followed, I could see him saying, look, this is the rule. We have to follow the rule. It's your rule. You made it up.
No, and you do bring up a good point of rules, not just in Father Khatri's case with his belief system, but rules within Fromville in general. Like that's one thing that the show has been kind of setting up and kind of pushing, throughout every season, is that there are rules. There are rules to this place and how things work here. But there's also rules to human nature and to how that works as well. So no, I just think it makes Khatri just so much more of an interesting character. How he's, he's just not black and white. Like he's much more nuanced in how he views a lot of these things. But yeah, I think the box is just such an interesting aspect of season one. The way that they kind of made the box this kind of presence in season one, I just think it was really interesting. And I know the show has very much moved away from the box ever since then, and I'm not expecting the box to ever make a return. But I will say one thing: it seems like a lot of people in the chat definitely want to see Patty thrown in the box. Patty for the box. We got another Patty for the box. We got another Patty for the box. A lot of people want to see good old Patty get thrown in that box. So I wouldn't mind it either. If you're going to throw anyone in the box, definitely Patty.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing saving her is that she didn't get anybody actually killed. But yeah, as far as endangering people, I mean, that last, I mean, her last show out, got on my nerves to no end. I mean, standing still when she should have been moving, and then moving when she should have been still. It was just like, oh my god!
Zigs when she should zag. She literally does everything opposite from what she should. Like she does literally everything wrong.
When she held her hands, like she did like the Cornholio thing in the seat where she had like her fists balled up and her elbows at the side. She's like, TP for my bunghole, or whatever that little tantrum she threw.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I got no time for that.
No time. I got no time for Patty. No screen time for Patty. I have zero that I would allocate to her. But yeah, but I do agree with this. Putting Victor in the cell, but not Sarah, Elgin, or Fatima is crazy. They should have been a little more strict on the watch list. So dumb that no one respects Victor enough. I really didn't like how Victor kind of just got thrown in the cell in season 4. Just looking at the context of it, I guess. This is a character that all of you have been asking for 4 seasons now to give you answers, give you something. And as soon as he finally opens up, as soon as he finally gives you answers, and it's an answer that you just happen not to like, you throw him in a fucking cell. So yeah, I wasn't happy with how they did Victor in season 4. It's like, man, this is what you've been asking for seasons to for this guy to give you some answers. And the second he does, he gets fucking arrested. But this is a pretty interesting part as well, as Blazing One brings up. Khatri was pretty harsh about that, considering he killed a man in anger himself. And again, this is a huge part of Khatri's backstory that we learned in season 1. Hell, the whole reason why he ended up in Fromville in the first place. Yes, he was a very flawed kind of priest before he kind of landed here. To the point where we hear about that story of this young boy coming to him, wanting help, and Khatri pretty much just sends him back home with a candy bar. And later on, that poor boy ends up getting beat to death by his father in a drunken rage. And you can definitely tell that broke something in Khatri a little bit, to the point where he, literally, tracks the guy down and kills him in a feat of anger. So yeah, I think that's an interesting point as well. I mean, Father Khatri, is he holding himself to the same standards as he's holding Frank to here? I don't know. But then again, I suppose it is two different things, two different worlds. These, rules in Fromville have been, set up strictly because Fromville is just so much more dangerous than the real world. But you do bring up a good point. I mean, Father Khatri did kill someone himself. Maybe he should throw himself in the box.
Yeah, or maybe Khatri kicked himself for his lack of action with the boy, with the little boy. Maybe that's why he's kind of spurring Boyd towards an action, because he knows the regret of, say that they don't use the box, say that they don't send Frank in, and then everybody else figures it out. Then that'll be on both Khatri and Boyd if somebody else ends up dying at a later time. Of course, it's all hypothetical and in the future and all this other stuff. But if their lack of action, I can't really directly see how Frank would get anybody else killed. But again, I can't see how leaving Frank alive would have gotten anybody else killed, directly. But they could have written it that way. But again, it's like Khatri regretted his lack of action as far as not advocating for the boy or paying more attention to the boy and just sending him on his way. So maybe that's what they were trying to draw the distinction between, a sin of omission versus a sin of commission. That's why he's advocating for Boyd to use the box. He doesn't want him to be in that situation where he fails to act and then somebody else dies as a result of that. Again, I have to say that, if Frank hadn't been so easygoing about going into the box, almost wanting to go in himself, I think it would have been way harder on Boyd.
And I almost feel like that maybe would have made the episode even better. I feel like it does almost feel like kind of Frank is letting Boyd off. Like Frank is giving Boyd this out. Whereas at the beginning of the episode, Boyd was very much struggling with this decision. Do I let Frank, do I put Frank in this box or do I spare him? It was a decision that was on him at the beginning. So it does almost feel, again, like Frank kind of gave him an out in terms of offering himself up to the point where Boyd doesn't have to do anything, but Boyd also gets Frank in the box, which also kind of puts forth Khatri's kind of point of view in terms of can't build a guillotine in the town square and be afraid to use it. So it's beneficial for Boyd for Frank to go into the box, but he just doesn't want to be the one to condemn him. He doesn't want to condemn him himself. So Frank just gives him a huge out, just completely gives him that layup by offering to go in himself. But I do wonder if the episode would have been a little bit better if Frank didn't do that. I think if Frank was maybe fighting it, if Frank was like begging Boyd not to be put in the box and Boyd put him in anyway, I think that would have made the episode so much more kind of hectic, a lot more emotional, if nothing else. And I think it would have put a heavier price on Boyd, for having to do this. If you have this kind of man begging you, please don't throw me in this box, and he throws him in anyway, it just would have made the whole episode way more intense. But it was still a phenomenal episode.
And I think it would have put a lot. I think honestly, at this point in the series, especially, we'll be 2-3 episodes in. I think that would be almost too much pressure to put on Boyd, because we could already see the toll that is taking on Boyd just having to scoop up the remnants of Frank out of the box.
Yeah,
when
it's tough.
And that kind of had him swear off the box altogether, essentially.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
no
why
boys going in the fucking box.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, people repeatedly brought up the topic of the box, and Boyd is like, we're not using this.
Shuts
box.
it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too, like Boyd listens to kind of listens to Father Cautry in a sense where, I kind of have to let Frank do this. I can't build this thing and then be afraid to use it. But then as soon as Boyd actually sees with his own two eyes what it really means to put someone in this box, he's like, fuck this. Never again. Never again. I don't care. We'll figure out some other means of justice.
Yeah. And we've seen it like, I'll throw it back to Game of Thrones. Ned Stark, the man who passes the sentence carries it out.
Carries the sword.
Yeah. So you have to be willing to be that guy, and I thought it was cool that Boyd was the one of all the people that, they could, he could have easily called Cautry, Cautry could be on corpse pickup duty as part of his job. He already was for Megan and Lauren. They could say, hey, one more in the box, Cautry, aisle 3, clean up aisle 3, Cautry. But no, it was Boyd with the shovel and scraping the viscera and everything else out of the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was again, the way that they kind of weaved the storyline of the box in season 1 was just brilliant.
People realize you lack the conviction to use it.
Boyd is holding this town together, but at the same time, he doesn't want to do it. He's afraid it's immoral, it's murder. What am I doing?
Boyd understands the weight of taking the life away from someone else.
God damn it!
If you don't take care of your family, you're exposed to these creatures.
Poor Frank, he has to go in the box and face his punishment.
I'm ready. He wasn't there to protect his family, and he has to pay for that.
Yeah. I can totally see too. I mean, again, we're going right back to, a man protects his family, something that Boyd, Boyd also struggled with that situation with Abby. What does he do? I mean, he had to kill his wife to save his son. I mean, again, you have to put that paramount. And they also,
that's why it's so personal to Boyd because he failed in that situation. That's why it means so much to him. I think that, the reaction that he has towards Frank, just getting slapping the shit out of him.
and another beautiful little thing, and it was just kind of a throwaway. It was just part of a bigger scene. But Boyd points up to the window. When you have kids, you nail the fucking window shut. And so that kind of also tells you that not only was Frank just not only was this, we kind of got the idea that he was a habitual drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
But he also, not only when he was not being a habitual drunk, they must have passed that rule around. Hey, if you have kids, you nail the window shut. And either Frank didn't listen or didn't do it for one reason or another. He didn't nail the window shut, which would have at least, if anything else, would have given Lauren a second to run over and
more time,
grab Megan, tell her to knock it off or whatever. Because Lauren wasn't that far away from Megan. She was maybe a quick stride or two away, but it was more, it was just enough time. All the granny needed was that little
split second.
But if it was nailed shut like it should have been,
she never would have been able to open it. She wouldn't have been strong enough.
Yeah, it wouldn't even have been on the, wouldn't even been a consideration. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like you're in this place, Frank. You're in this incredibly dangerous place. Like, we don't know exactly how long the Pratt family has been in Fromville, but you definitely get the sense that they've been there long enough to know the dangers of this place. You have a child, you have a wife and a small child back at home. Not only should you not be drinking like a freaking idiot, but you're going to tell me that the first thing that you did wasn't nailing that window shut. That literally would have been the first thing I did. Before we even unpacked our freaking bags, I would have been nailing those fucking windows shut. I'm literally stepping into the house, grabbing a hammer, and going right up and nailing the window shut before I do anything else, before I even see what bedroom I'm sleeping in. That's the first thing I'm doing if I have a kid. Hell, I'm doing it even if I'm alone.
Right.
Yeah, it's incredibly negligent on Frank's part.
Right. I mean, when you know there's something that's going to like rip you to shreds and, kill you, like personal security or whatever you would call it, exactly as you say, you would go to every doorway. I mean, if you don't absolutely need the back door, fucking you board that thing up, put boards across it. There's not going to be any opportunity for a mistake to be made. But yeah, I guess Frank was negligent. So again, it was good that he kind of just laid down and allowed himself to go. Sure, he was already glum enough at losing his family.
Right.
But guess what? He fucked around and found out. So
He did. And it's unfortunate, it's one thing if you're going to F around and find out and you're going to kind of deal with the consequences, but he F around and found out and his family had to pay the price for him doing that, and that's what's messed up there. It's not just Frank that kind of had to pay for his FUBAR. It cost him his family's life as well. But we also have 250 jewels from Sunflower as well, and a clapping seal. Thank you so much, Sunflower, for the 250 jewels. That is so incredibly generous of you. Thank you. And we also have Chiquita Cyborg for another 10 jewels. Thank you so much, Chiquita Cyborg, for the gold coin as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Get some woes in here. Appreciate it. Very much appreciate the support, everyone. You guys have been awesome. But yeah, damn, Frank, protect your family, right? Yeah, literally the first thing I'm doing as soon as I walk through the door, I'm nailing all those freaking things shut before anything else. Because children are going to go and just open up all the doors, especially someone as young as Megan. It's going to happen. But all right, let's stop sharing this for a second and let's bring up this. Now, of course, we did recently watch season 1, episode 2, when we're going back and diving into the beginning of right from the start. We're going to continue to do these. PM and I will be diving into episode 3 this Saturday, our usual regular Saturday time. So if you guys have an opportunity to, between now and Saturday, definitely watch season 1, episode 3 and see what kind of stuff you guys can pick up on, some new clues, if you can see anything at all now that season 4 is under our belt. And for me, this has always been one of the most intriguing scenes in season 1, episode 2. Julie getting onto the porch of Colony House, and we see the monster kind of turning to her, and not just turning to her, but very much getting her attention. You see that the way Julie is looking at this person, and it almost does look like she recognizes him in some small way, almost like this person is drawing her in. And then you hear the dialogue from the monster. Hi, Julie, don't you recognize me? And now that Julie is a story walker, now that we're 4 seasons in, and we know that she very much has the ability to go back in time and interact with people back in time, including the monsters. I have to imagine that is what is going to be the case here, that at some point in the past, she is going to go back and interact with this specific monster. And I wouldn't even be surprised if this is the monster that gives her the scar on her face. Maybe that's what the connection is here. Maybe that is what this monster is, referring to here. For Julie, her timeline isn't linear. She has no context for what she might have experienced with any of these other monsters. But the monsters do know. They do have that context, because for them, their timeline is linear. So for him, it's his past. But for her, it's her future still. So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that this is the monster that gave Julie her scar, and she's going to interact with him in some kind of story walking escapade at some point in season 5.
Well, that'll be interesting to see too, especially what the guy looks like. It's been 5 years. He's probably grown up too. Julie looks so different. That was another striking thing to notice in these early episodes. Even though it's only been a matter. yeah, you know, in world a little over a month, give or take. But yeah, in the real world, you know, Julie looks so, you know, she looks so youthful. And then obviously Ethan, you know, little boy Ethan in the you know, in the RV, his scenes just squeaky as can be, and they've grown up so much.
It's crazy. I mean, like Ethan's always the the notable one when you think of how much the cast has aged from season 1 to now. It's always Ethan and the boy in white kind of stand out. But you look at all of these other characters, and yeah, I mean they've all aged around close to 5 years, since season 1 has started. So yeah, it's been a little while. It's been a little while, but we do see this monster a few more times in the show throughout the show. He shows up in season 2, 3, and I don't know if we see him in season 4. I'll have to go back and check. But we do see him in the season 3 finale. He's actually one of the monsters that is down in the caves when Smiley is being reborn. He's actually down there. So they've kept him around. He's definitely still an extra on the show. So I'm with you as well, Katrina Marie. I really hope that we see this meeting. I really hope that they bring this monster back and don't forget this. Would be so good to see something come full circle. And that's what I'm saying. Like I would really love for them to tie in this scene right here to something like that. Julie has a story walking, mission at some point in season 5, goes back in time, runs into this monster. Maybe he's the one that gives her the scratch and the claw and the freaking scar on her face, maybe. And yeah, it brings it full circle and it explains to us as the audience, okay, this is what he meant. That's why he's asking her, don't you remember me? Because he's literally met her before. So yeah, I really hope that they pay this off in some kind of way in season 5.
Yeah, and her look is of like, yeah, and at this
almost like deep down in her subconscious, she kind of recognizes him, but just can't place it.
Yeah, it's that weird, and at this point in the story, we don't know if they have, because we've already seen Megan open the window to what she knows isn't her grandma. So we don't know if these guys have some kind of hypnotic power or some kind of power to like enthrall people just long enough to get them. Or control them or do whatever.
That's what I thought the first time I watched this scene. That's literally exactly what I thought, dude. The first time I watched this, I'm like, holy shit, do they have some kind of like glamour ability? Is he like drawing her in? Is he hypnotizing her? That's what I thought the first time I saw this.
Yeah. And meanwhile, all the stuff is going on. That was it was a funny scene that while this scene is going on, because the guy is literally like holding the shotgun at the door and not allowing everybody in, and Donna's like, open the door, and he's like, that's your rule, your rule is nobody comes in, and she's like, and then she's like, look, I know you're scared. It's like, it's not about being scared, it's about it's about doing, I'm scared of you, Donna, is what it is. I ain't scared of the mom, I'm scared of fucking dealing with you. But then immediately, it did catch me off guard because it was so off-putting or so weird how like immediately after she lets everybody in and saves them, then everybody gets tied up. Like, okay, tie everybody up, and Ellis, you get to do it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, fuck. Crazy.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know. I don't feel like I'd be very conducive to just being tied up. Hey, let me back outside. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, send me outside with the monsters. I'll take my chance. They're slow as hell. I can run for a good while. I'll be fine. I'll just run around in a circle till morning. Fuck it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny though too, as we've seen the characters develop, and I don't think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, or I won't say I don't think a lot of stuff. I will say I think a lot of the stuff that we have seen was kind of made up on the fly, like later than this. Yeah, because especially the scenes with Victor, he was so kind of weird and creepy, and the way he acted, and even Fatima was mean. She's like, oh, he's creepy, but he's harmless.
Tweaked Victor. They totally like, and I feel like it almost kind of happened like midway through season 1. Where they really tweaked his character to the point where he started to become a little less creepy and a little bit more mysterious. Because at the beginning, he's not really mysterious. He's just full on creepy. Like when we first get introduced to him here, when he shows up on Julie and he's looking for his peaches, it's such a kind of creepy kind of encounter. And that's not kind of the Victor we know now. Like the Victor we have now is a little bit different. I feel like they tweaked his character from kind of borderline creepy to more of the mysterious kind of background.
But they still got the I drew you while you were sleeping.
Exactly. And that happens in episode 4 in season 1. And that's why I feel like towards like halfway through season 1, they start to kind of tweak him and they make him a little less creepy.
Yeah, they're like, what are we doing with this guy?
Yeah, we got to switch this up. I mean, hell, they were originally, according to the rumors, that they were originally going to kill Victor off in season 1. Originally, he wasn't going to be a series regular. And that just shows you how much different this story might have really been in the earliest drafts of it. Because Victor's a massive part of this fucking show and this story now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You could hardly even think of
right?
of the show without,
right?
a show without Victor as an integral part of it. And granted, I mean, even the interactions with him explaining like his childlike perspective to Ethan and whatnot. But then, gradually, he's come in key in so many different scenes, like key. Guiding guiding Tabitha out of the caves after the Matthews house collapses, all this stuff.
Guiding her to the lighthouse, to the bottle tree, and then to the lighthouse so she could go to the real world and bring back his father. Like, he's been a huge part of this show. I can't imagine what it might have looked like if they killed him off in season 1. Yeah, crazy. But we got Anna for $4.99. Thank you so much, Anna. Very, very much appreciate it. Ellis's drawing in episode 2 were interesting. When Julie first enters with Fatima, one drawing looks like an angel or fairy. Ellis also, again, we spend so much time kind of dissecting Victor's drawings and, the ones from Eloise or the ones from Miranda in the basement that, sometimes that we kind of stop to, or at least maybe forget. That Ellis has some interesting ones as well. I know when it comes to Ellis's room, the main one that everyone talks about, that everyone sees, is the kind of interpretation that he has painted of his version of him and Fatima as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, where we see the serpent, we see the garden, we see pretty much the whole kind of shebang right there with him and Fatima at the center. But if you look around at some of his other ones, some of the smaller ones that the camera doesn't really pan to like super obvious, there's some other really interesting and creepy ones there, especially those kind of, those pencil drawings that he does.
Yeah, was that in episode 1 when
I think that was in episode 1.
Yeah, when he was drawing
might
her.
have been episode 1.
Okay.
No, I think it might have been. No, I think it might be episode 2, or it might even be episode 3. Actually, or it could be episode 2 a little bit later on, like after Julie gets untied. There it is. There we go.
Okay,
right
there.
here. Yeah,
that was a good fortune.
Yeah, perfect. We see a lot of interesting other stuff up there, and a lot of it just seems to be like different depictions of Fatima for the most part. Like, the one on the easel right here definitely seems to be Fatima. The one next to the easel to the left definitely seems to be a version of Fatima. This one seems to be some version, a hand holding a rose. But some of the other ones are tough to see. But no, I think it's always interesting that we dissect all of the drawings on this show, but we never really dissect Ellis's too much. I mean, we have in the past, but just nowhere near as often as we do the others.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah, this is an interesting scene, and it was very ironic that Julie was untied and being shown around the house while Tabitha's still tied up, getting the lecture from.
This is true. Yeah,
from Donna.
This is true.
And this is that one episode, and again, I was one of the ones. I don't know. I will admit to being one of the ones. The way Donna described her. Her sister
encounter with the sister when they arrived in Fromville. Mm-hmm.
I was one of the ones who I could have sworn that I saw that scene. I almost like envisioned it in my mind, and I can't, I still to this day, it's almost like a Mandela effect thing for me.
It's the Mandela effect because you're not the only one. I remember that, you know, quite a few times when we brought this up, you're not the only one. We've seen other people have that comment like, wait a minute, didn't we get a flashback of actually seeing Donna's sister get killed? For some reason, there were so many people that thought we actually got that flashback when we never freaking do. Right. So yeah, 100% Mandela effect because it seemed to affect a lot of people.
I did. I mean, and I could have described the scene too. It was, I mean, it was as Donna had described it, but
so vivid.
It was very similar to like later in the seasons, like when the EMTs arrived with the ambulance, or, you know, kind of similar to that. But yeah, they you know, they stop, and I could have imagined her like getting out and confronting them or whatever. And yeah, but yeah, I have to accept it, you know, and in this reality, in this timeline, in the timeline that I'm in.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe some of you were tapping into some alternate timeline where they filmed that scene in From instead of just recounted it. Because again, it wasn't just you. It seems like a lot of people were remembering a scene that never happened. But again, maybe that's just a testament to how well Donna describes it. Like she describes it super vividly to the point where it paints a pretty good image in your head, especially when you look at, you know, the surrounding kind of aspects of it, where we know what Donna looks like. We know what it looks like when people drive up in Fromville at night. We know what Donna's sister looks like because we've seen her on the picture. So, you know, you kind of have enough ancillary pieces around you to kind of paint a really vivid picture of what Donna was talking about, because she does kind of recount it in some pretty good detail. So I think it's understandable how this kind of turned into a mass kind of, you know, mass hallucination Mandela effect kind of incident in From.
I'm in the Berenstein Bears timeline as well.
There you go. There you go. The Berenstein Bears.
Yeah, it wasn't no stain. There was no stain. I remember talking to my mom about that, honestly, because I was like, because my question to my mom was, is it Stein or Steen, like Frankenstein, or it wasn't anything about a fucking stain, because I was old enough to know what a stain is. So I do. I mean, I am a believer in the Mandela effect. Not everyone for every person, but I definitely think something's happening over at CERN that's throwing us off. That or Harambe.
Yeah, we're being misled. We are being misled. Oh man, but thank you again, Anna, for the $4.99, and yeah, again, you know, like you said, you know, we kind of dissect all of these other drawings a ton, but you know, maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to some of Ellis's as well. Absolutely. Katrina Marie for $1.99, itching for a From tattoo, ideas in chat. Ooh, interesting. I've been kind of thinking about From tattoo ideas as well. I'm thinking about just getting something super simple, like the symbol, you know, like Jade's symbol that he's plagued with in season 1. It's very kind of, you know, recognizable, you know, when it comes to, you know, the show of From. So I'm thinking about getting Jade's symbol, you know, I mean, not too big, just a small one somewhere. But no, I mean, chat, if you guys have some ideas for a awesome From tattoo for Katrina Marie, definitely throw them in the comment section. I mean, talisman could look good depending on what style you do it in and where you put it. You know, a rock can look a little bit weird as a tattoo. Like, you'd have to really have a good artist and have a really good position. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's, you know, kind of, there's some interesting things there you could make from a tattoo From style.
Photorealistic smiley across your entire back.
No. No, love it. Oh, yeah, photorealistic Martin just on your back. You know, the size of your whole back, chains and all.
That would be a surprise. Yeah, the first time you know somebody saw it with your, you know, that would be quite surprising.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. You know, the symbol is always what popped up to mind for me whenever I think about some kind of From tattoo. Just simple, the simple Jade symbol that has been plaguing him. Not so much plaguing him anymore, but used to plague him. But yeah, chat, like, let Katrina Marie know your ideas for tattoos. And thank you so much for the $1.99. What about you, Ravener? If you had to get a From tattoo, and I guess I'll ask you guys in the chat that same thing. If it wasn't a choice, if you absolutely had to get a From theme tattoo, what would you get?
Probably at this point, because I have a few, so all the good parts are already taken. I might do like the talisman symbols, but almost like maybe like in a line down my forearm, like down the what would you call it, the backside of my forearm. Kind of like in a straight line. I want maybe if they're straightened out. I'd have to see how it looks, because it might look weird with the trees, repeating in the order that they do. Yeah, it definitely would have to be something like talisman. Like I'm all about the runes and whatnot.
Yeah. Or yeah, there you go, Anna. You could get Julie's wig. It would be iconic. It would be. You could get. If you were to get like just like the tattoo of Julie's image as the wig, like that very famous face, like the fucking weird face that she's making with the wig on. That might be. I don't know. That might be pretty good. That might be pretty good. But yeah, no, it's tough. I like the symbol idea. The talisman isn't a bad idea. Yeah, the group tattoo, right? Yeah, group tattoo. Everybody gets a jade symbol or a talisman. Oh, absolutely. Or we could all get the wig tattoo. That would be pretty iconic as well.
You have to get that one really small.
You have to get that one really small in a place that doesn't see the light of day very often. Yeah.
Because that one, everybody, they always say, tattoos are like scars with worse stories, but you don't want to explain. Yeah. You don't want to. I would almost prefer to get like a wig challenge coin or something. That way you can still indicate your membership in the group without having permanent ink of the wig.
Yeah. Blazing One would get the hot nurse monster tattoo. Okay, so the recast nurse, the second nurse we get in season 3 after she's recast. Okay, good one. Good one. Ooh, tattoo of the music notes of the Ankui song. Interesting, very interesting. Or even the jukebox itself, the little jukebox, little From style jukebox tattoo would be fun. I don't know. A lot of good stuff. I think if you could get the right artist and the right style to draw like a really sick version of the bottle faraway tree, that could be a pretty cool tattoo. But again, it would have to be drawn very right. We would have to hit up some of our old professional artist friends, Ravener, and see what they could kind of drum up.
Oh yeah. And I honestly, almost any inanimate object like the talisman or the tree or anything, always going to be better than a photorealistic. Because I haven't.
You know what I'm thinking? Can you imagine a Kenneth Roquefort style bottle tree fucking tattoo, or just a drawing in general in Kenneth Roquefort style?
Oh, it's almost any. The thing is, Roquefort doesn't go wrong.
He doesn't do wrong. Anything he does looks beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know, like for the people in the chat who don't know, that guy, that's one of the few people that I would entrust to a tattoo, because it's going to be.
I would trust him. Yeah, Kenneth Roquefort is a world-class artist. He's worked on comic books, illustrations, all kinds of stuff throughout his career. Super famous, super big, and he's a huge friend of Ravener and I's. From the comic book days, back when this channel was more comic book focused. Blazing One remembers. Blazing One was back with us back then. Yeah. But yeah, Kenneth Roquefort, phenomenal artist. I think he would, if I could have any artist in the world, it would probably be him.
Yeah, just to put things in perspective, like when they were making a Superman stamp for the post office, there was Roquefort's Superman.
It was
they chose.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's one of the best. One of the best. But yeah, interesting question though. I don't think I've ever I've thought of getting the symbol every once in a while, but I don't know. What would a good From tattoo look like? Yeah, the wig tramp stamp. Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, the provolone from home tramp stamp. That would be pretty good. A little slice of provolone. Yeah. NPC Roger. Fire mitts. There it is. A nice tattoo of fire mitts, like a gritty, grisly looking version of fire mitts. That's the tattoo right there.
Oh man, you'd have to explain it though, man. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, that's why you put it somewhere that doesn't see the light of day very often. That's for your significant other.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Then they have to look at it. Yeah. Then they have to look at it, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Spikehead Kelly, another good one.
Oh God.
I am not opposed to the ideas that are either expensive or stupid. I have dozens of dumb tattoos, including portrait of Dwight Schrute from The Office. So
oh my God.
Dwight is awesome. There is nothing dumb about Dwight. Dwight is the fucking man. No, I mean, hey, nothing wrong getting a fun tattoo, especially when it's something that you're very passionate about. We all love From. I would definitely get the symbol tattoo in a heartbeat.
Like no regrets.
No regrets. No regrets. Tattoo of Colony House. Yeah, it's what Dwight means. Good old Dwight. Good old Dwight. But yeah, From tattoo could be fun. It could be fun for sure.
Although, man, you got one more season to enjoy it, and then you've got a lot of explaining. Again, a lot of explaining. This show from 15 years ago. It was on for 5 seasons.
Yeah, it was a show from 15 years ago that was on. It was really good. We had like this awesome community that dissected it every week. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let's see what else we got here. Now, another thing that happens in episode 2 is, of course, the famous Ethan recounting his Lake of Tears dream. And I believe that happens a little bit later on, closer towards the end, I believe, or from the middle to the end, somewhere around there. Once Christy is pulling out the piece of table out of his leg. And I think this is, again, very iconic scene in From. This is a scene that has birthed so many different theories and predictions and ideas just from this one little glimpse here. And here we hear Ethan talking about his dream. About seeing the Lake of Tears, and that apparently it was a drawing on the wall, and how there are many, many, many drawings on the wall. And during that time, we see it flash over to Victor's room, and we start seeing all of these different drawings on Victor's wall, instantly setting up that connection of, okay, Victor's drawings are clearly meant to be a little bit more than just drawings on the wall. There is something a little bit deeper here. There's something maybe even a little bit prophetic here. That you see that maybe we're going to see that these drawings are going to hold some answers, and they did. They very much did.
Did you need me to find that one? Find that scene?
If you want to, if you want to find just the part where Ethan wakes up and says the lines of the dream.
Okay. Yeah, this is the proto Roger. This is the guy that tells Katri and Kenny to get off the stairs.
Proto Roger.
He's like, do you guys care to get out of the way? Let's see if we got him. Hold on just 1 second. Can you guys maybe not sit in the middle of the stairs?
Oh shit.
Let's see. Let me see if I can find the was it before the one that we just?
I think it's a little after that. A little after this, I think.
Okay. Sorry, I am literally just going on off of a VLC media player.
No worries. No worries.
A little bit after this part.
I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is right. I think this is when she pulls it out, and then when he wakes up, he has the seizure, and then wakes up.
Okay, let's take a look.
I think this is around it. A little bit after this, I think. Okay, yep, they're getting ready to do it now. Do you have audio?
Yeah. Oh, am I not sharing audio?
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. Shoot.
No worries. Ooh, tattoos of the worms flying into your forearm. That's a good one. That's actually a really freaking good one. Those worms were super creepy in season 2. I mean, seeing them kind of just pour out of the ballerina's mouth like that, one of the more iconic scenes in From. So I think that's actually a really good one. I mean, that's very kind of intrinsic to From, to Boyd's storyline. The worms are a very big part of the show. Hell yeah, nice kind of photorealistic kind of, tattoo of what looks to be the worms just bursting out of your freaking forearm. I like that one. I like that one a lot. That might be one of my favorites.
Okay, should have audio coming up.
Just sent a pic of my Dwight. The Dwight in the Discord because Jeremy chuckled at the thought of it. Yeah, I love Dwight. Dwight's freaking great. Dwight is such an awesome individual. All right, let's see what we can hear.
Okay, ready? Let's see.
I saw it.
Perfect.
What'd you say?
I saw the Lake of Tears. It was a drawing on the wall. There were so many drawings on the wall.
So many drawings on the wall.
Like when I used to draw with crayons. When you put it on the fridge. And we were all there in the drawings. You and me, Mom and Julie.
And this is weird, creepy Victor at this point.
Somebody screamed because the spider came down from the ceiling.
And then someone screamed because the spider came down from the ceiling. All right, now this is an interesting kind of tidbit here. I feel like we've tried to dissect this little dream for so long, and what the Lake of Tears could potentially be. What role is it going to play on the show? The Lake of Tears kind of went away for a while, and then it resurfaced again in season 4. And I wonder what they're ultimately going to do with that storyline. But I think the interesting part here is the end of Ethan's kind of speech, talking about how, first he's talking about the Lake of Tears and all the drawings on the wall. But then he talks about, then there was a scream because the spider came down from the ceiling. And I find it very interesting that he's saying this to Jim, of all people. There was a scream when the spider came down from the ceiling. Part of me is starting to wonder if the spider, in this sense, is a metaphor for the Man in Yellow. And the screaming when the spider finally eventually came down is a reference or a foreshadowing of the Man in Yellow killing Jim. I don't know why. I don't know why that popped into my head when I saw this episode on this rewatch. But part of me wonders if the spider symbolism on the show is going to be more closely tied to the Man in Yellow than we thought. That maybe the Man in Yellow has something to do with this spider kind of symbology on the show. I just found it very interesting how he's telling this to Jim, of all people, about then someone screamed when the spider came down from the ceiling. It just reminds me of Tabitha screaming when she sees Jim's dead body.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I always think of it in terms of what I knew at the time, because they're panning across, and this kid, at this point, he hadn't even seen Victor yet.
No, he hasn't met anybody yet. He hasn't met Victor. He hasn't seen Colony House. He hasn't seen the inside of Victor's room. And one thing that's interesting here is that he has a seizure as well. He's not just kind of, out conscious because of the accident. He full on has a seizure when they're pulling the kind of the part of the leg out of it, the part of the leg out of his leg, the table leg, full on seizing up. And then one thing that's pretty interesting is that the scene flashes back and then flashes back again, and he's still seizing. And you hear Jim say, "Why is it lasting so long?" And that was a line that I missed the first go around. I don't know, or maybe I just overlooked it. But it's fun, it's interesting how you kind of maybe look at things through different perspectives, and when you have different context for things. When I heard Jim say that the second go around, when he says, "Why is it lasting so long?" that definitely just kind of completely confirmed that this seizure that Ethan was having was very similar to the seizure that Elgin was having, very similar to a lot of the seizures that our characters have had on the show when they're getting visions, when they're getting messages, when something is being relayed to them in a supernatural manner. It always or usually is preceded by a seizure. So I think the boy in white was sending Ethan something here. I think the boy in white was sending Ethan maybe the blueprint, for lack of better terms, as to what he maybe needs to decipher along the way, or just valuable information that he might need to know about this place. Why give him this information? Why show him Victor's room? Why show him all of these drawings? What exactly is Ethan supposed to find out? What is his role going to be in the show ultimately? We always talk about Tabitha and Boyd and Jade and Victor and all these important characters and what role they're going to play. But I do often wonder, what role is Ethan going to play? I know there's a lot of theories that he might become the next Victor, that everyone's going to die and it's only going to be Ethan left over. I don't really see the show actually going in that direction, but I do often wonder, okay, what is Ethan's role supposed to be in this narrative? I don't know. Maybe he is supposed to just be the storyteller, the one that lays out the blueprint for the rest of the characters to follow. But part of me hopes that he has something a little more important to do at some point.
Any significance do you think to this black aura that's coming out of the RV?
No, not off the top of my head. Well, that's the thing about this whole kind of thing here. If this is supposed to be the RV and this is supposed to be Jade's car, like what are we seeing here? None of these are the cars that the Matthews family or Jade arrived in. Now, is Victor just drawing just two random cars because he knows two cars arrived? I think that's probably just what's happening here, because at this point, I don't think Victor has actually seen the RV. I don't think he's actually seen the car that Jade arrived in. So I think he's just drawing his interpretation of two cars arriving at once.
Okay, yeah. Because, he hasn't been out of Colony House as far as we know.
Not yet. I mean, he definitely hasn't seen the vehicles they arrived in yet.
Right. Because they're just barely arrived. I mean, they're just barely getting in.
Yeah. So maybe he's just drawing a symbolic representation of the two cars arriving at once, because he knows, or at least he believes, that two cars arriving at once means something. It means that something bad is about to happen. The last time two cars arrived at once, that's when things started to go bad. So I guess, that's just what he's drawing here. His interpretation of Jim and Jade's arrival, Jim and Tabitha and Jade's arrival.
Although it is weird to have, I mean, if he knew that there was a car accident with two cars, even if he knew one was an RV, he wouldn't know that it was on its side. So that's kind of cool.
Very true. Yep. The RV very much did land on its side, and the other car was straight up on its four wheels. So yeah, you got that detail right.
It's weird. I mean, again, I know it's so easy to go through these episodes and try to apply significance or apply like, they were, they were hinting at this, or they were leaving clues this early on. I mean, I still think that it's kind of a toss up, because I still think they're playing it by ear a lot in these later episodes, and maybe. Maybe they might occasionally put in a scene or a reference in the later seasons to some of the stuff that happened early on, but some of it I don't know. I don't know. I really don't believe that they've plotted this out. Point by point. I'm sure that there are some callbacks and things that they definitely have put a pin in that they have to go back to, but not every single thing, and especially like stuff like set design and drawings and stuff.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I mean, it definitely seems like they have like a loose blueprint in terms of where the story starts, where it's going to go, and where it's ultimately going to end. But in terms of like filling in all of the finer details that come from connecting A to B and B to C, it definitely seems like they are filling some stuff in along the way while hitting the main overarching plot points that they have that are the blueprint of the story pretty much. And they've pretty much admitted as much as well. They've even admitted as much in some of the interviews as well, that some of the stuff they do kind of come up on the fly. Sometimes they do change some things every once in a while and throw some things in there that maybe weren't planned originally, like the whole Clara being the mole thing. Apparently that was something that Jack Bender himself was like really pushing for, and they ended up doing it.
Oh yeah. Here's with audio the guy, the proto Roger.
And then you saw the tree.
And then we saw the tree.
And then we saw the tree. Yeah.
Can you guys maybe not sit in the middle of the stairs?
Right.
He's like a proto, more polite Roger.
That was again though, this episode again, it was so packed full. We got this little interaction, and he talking about dealing with his father as he was being diagnosed and dealing with the first stages of dementia and stuff. And this was the first one, and I don't know, have they done it since where they do a cold open? Because this was a cold open where Kenny was chopping the tree.
Yes,
we didn't know what.
Before. Yeah, they've done it before. I don't think they do it like super often, but I do believe they've done it before. Yeah,
where the cold open is essentially a flashback from something that happens later in the episode.
Oh, I don't know if they've done it in like the flashback sense. No, that might be the first time I've actually
just almost like a flash forward. Yeah,
more of a flash forward. I don't know. Just off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Again, we've seen some cold opens, but in terms of like flashback cold opens or flash forward cold opens, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I have to check.
And it kind of put me off guard, and then, but again, it told me, it's like, wow, I don't, these guys. It definitely, especially in these first, it was really encouraging in the first 2 episodes to see the chances that they're taking. And now, the cold open, the cold flash forward, did it hit? Well, it made sense by the time we got to the end of the episode, so it didn't leave us lingering, wondering what it was about. But it did tell me that, this show's willing to take, stylistic, take chances as far stylistically. Yeah, it's like, okay, wow, this isn't going to be a paint by numbers show. That was something that kind of really was encouraging early on in the series.
Mm-hmm. And I 100% agree. Like, you could just tell that this was not going to be a show that was going to kind of follow the mold, in every single instance. It's going to kind of do its own thing. And I think that was very apparent right from, again, the first 7 minutes of the first episode, in the way that they savagely slaughtered poor young Megan. Not many shows would have the balls to really do something like that in their first 5 minutes of airing.
Right.
So yeah, you definitely get the sense very early on that this show is not going to be super conventional when it comes to how most horror TV series are laid out in the format of them. You just had the sense that this was going to be something a little bit different. And it has. Every step of the way, that has proven to be true. This is not your average, normal horror kind of narrative. This is something a little different. It's kind of this amalgamation of all of these different kind of genres kind of blended into one. And it works. For the most part, it works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this, the goal of, the first couple episodes, at least, almost anybody will watch the premiere episode of something. And, I'll usually give a show 3 or 4 episodes, especially, just to see, even if it isn't hitting. And it's kind of paid off a few times. Severance was one for me it took a while for me to warm up to it, but eventually I was like, oh, okay, by the time it got going, and it was I was way deep into Severance before I had even made up my mind on it. Pluribus is one that I got several episodes into before I decided to call it quits, because I it didn't seem like the payoff was there, at least for my entertainment. I want to say dollar, but the amount of my time investment that I'm going to spend on a show, I am very stingy with my time. So, so like if I don't see the payoff there, I'll pull the plug and go on to something else. I'm actually going back and rewatching. Remember Hell on Wheels, the one about the train?
Oh yeah, good old Cullen Bohannon.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen it that I've pretty much forgotten it for the most part. So it's almost like I'm watching it anew. I knew that I liked it. I don't remember how it ended. So a lot of the story beats are still coming as a surprise to me.
Nice.
But I've been banging out probably 2-3 episodes a night. I think I'm on episode 8 out of 10 on season 1. So I think, but it went for 5 seasons also. So but again, like this, but From was the same way. They did such a good job of enticing interest, it's like shit, now I'm 2 episodes into this thing. I got to see where this goes, It's like, there's so much going on here, and
it gets you invested.
Yeah. And there's so many characters, but at this point it wasn't even really overwhelming. And everybody was, I think another thing that I liked about it is these people look like real people. They don't look like movie stars or
exactly. Your normal everyday working collar people is what the cast of From looks like. Not this over exaggerated like cast where everyone's like super fucking beautiful. It's just not realistic.
Exactly. Or the 2 main people are beautiful and everybody, and the way you can tell somebody's bad is that they're ugly or that they look normal.
yeah. Bad guy's bad because he's ugly. Yeah. No, yeah, I like how From leans a little bit more into the realism with its casting, where this very much does look like a show where a bunch of people from Middle America were just grabbed and thrown into this fucking nightmare. Like it comes across like that. And yeah, I think the casting is a huge part of it.
Except for Sarah, who is beautiful. She is beautiful from the beginning till now.
Well, and speaking of Sarah, this is actually the episode where Sarah, of course, kills Toby in episode 1, but in episode 2 is when Sarah kind of takes it up a notch, where these voices, or from what seems to be the Man in Yellow, as far as we can tell, as from what we saw in season 4, Sophia was very much kind of giving Sarah these voices. So it seems like it might have been the Man in Yellow the whole time, manipulating Sarah from the very beginning. But in this episode, we see these voices start talking to Sarah about trying to cover up the death of Toby. Now that they have killed Toby, now they want to protect their asset. And I thought this was very interesting on these, the part of these voices, that the voices are going this far, that they want to protect Sarah as an asset to continue to use her. They don't want people to find out that she killed Toby, because then she'll be useless to them. So these voices, or the Men in Yellow, just presumably, comes up with this elaborate scheme to, cover Sarah's ass by make it seem like Toby was killed by one of the monsters and that they simply just got into the clinic at night. So I thought this was an interesting kind of different perspective you get to watch this scene in, knowing that this is most likely the Man in Yellow doing all of this, which kind of just brings on some more questions as well as to why the Man in Yellow wanted Toby dead in the first place. Was it a case of mistaking identity where the Man in Yellow thought Toby was really Jade? Did the Man in Yellow just want to isolate Jade? Does he know that Toby was going to be his best friend? He was going to have a partner in Toby to lean on. Did he want to just isolate him and make it harder for Jade to figure things out? That's the question that we still need to learn. But, seeing this through this different perspective of, okay, this is likely the Man in Yellow doing all of this. It gives you a little bit of more context, but it still just gives you more questions.
Right. And I mean, right up until season 4, we had no idea that it was, and we didn't know what the voices were. We knew that there were multiple of them, and we also knew that whatever wavelength or whatever frequency Sarah's operating on, she does get different spirits or different different entities can speak to her, not exclusively, I think, the Man in Yellow, right? Because
I think so, yeah, because it definitely seems like at the end of season 1, that is genuinely the voice of Abby that she hears. Like when she this time she says that this time it was different. This time it was a woman's voice telling her about Mr. Fish and Loaves. Tell Mr. Fish and Loaves that I was wrong, that there are worse things out here in the forest than the monsters. So yeah, I think Sarah just has the ability to maybe tap into a certain frequency that others can't, where, yeah, the man in yellow can tap into it and use her, but she can also seemingly really hear Abby at that point. And whatever entity was plaguing them in season 2, she could also communicate with that. When she straight up was laughing at Boyd, telling him, how funny it was, how glad it was that it freed him and brought him into town. So yeah, she can communicate with other stuff.
And do you think when she was doing the automatic writing to draw the Khatri, the Khatri drawing, what do you think that would? Do you think that was a good entity, or do you think that was Man in Yellow also? What was the net? What was the net effect of her? Well, that, I mean, essentially her being able to draw that stuff that she couldn't possibly have known about convinced Khatri then, right, to come.
These voices were real.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just one step in the direction of the Man in Yellow wanting to manipulate Khatri as well. Like if from the Man in Yellow's perspective, if he has Sarah in, doing his bidding, but can also convince Khatri that these voices that Sarah are hearing are coming from a place of good, then that's just another person that he can manipulate and use, another tool. Right.
And it's, again, we'll go back to, Boyd and Khatri being like on a similar stature among the people. Having Khatri co-sign Sarah kind of will definitely help.
Oh, yeah.
Helps.
Yeah. I think it helps. I think it helps a lot. But yeah. And again, that's why it's always fun kind of going back and watching these scenes through different perspectives. But we got Blazin' One for $20. Wow, thank you so much, Blazin' One, for the 20. Very much appreciate you, my friend. This place is built on rituals, and you can't change the story that's already been told. Could the children's unfinished story be finally be fully told with a funeral eulogy over their bones, a remembrance on Kui? Interesting question, Blazin' One. I don't know. I mean, again, I like the idea that this place was built on ritual, and to end it, you need to kind of conduct a very specific ritual to end it. It just makes sense that the symmetry of that would kind of be correct. But as we keep hearing, like you said, you can't change a story once it's been told. But has the story already been told, I think, is the big question. Is there a loophole there, Blazin' One? And you might be onto something. Maybe there is. Maybe there is some kind of loophole that, okay, maybe you can't change a story once it's already been told. But what if the story hasn't fully been told yet, and you are going to tell the end of it? That's not necessarily changing the story. That's just you filling out the ending yourself. So I get what you're saying there. I mean, could there be that loophole there? And could, like you said, something like a funeral eulogy or something along those lines, could that actually be something that completes the story? Could that be the ritual that they need to perform to end all of this? I don't know. I think it's an interesting question, an interesting possibility if there's a loophole there, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, and then we'll all go back to Khatri saying, we're in book 74. There's 73 books. The book 74 is the one we're in, or whatever it was that Khatri said.
Yeah, book 74. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, again, maybe they are, and maybe not so much the actual book 74 of the Book of Revelations. I know Khatri thinks it's that.
Oh, true.
Just simply their story. This is simply their story that needs to be told, and it hasn't been fully told yet. There still is a little bit of telling. Yes, you can't change a story that's already been told, but what if this one hasn't fully been told yet, and we're just telling it now? So no, I like the concept that maybe there's a loophole there.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of that he's putting out there. again, and every story has been told. Like even the stuff that we're seeing in nowadays, they're all stories that have been told before, but they don't always have to end the same way. That's what people do. They alter it, they change it, they rewrite it in from a different perspective or in a different way. So yeah, I could totally sign on to this idea. Funeral eulogy, some sort of ritual, which is different than anything that had been tried before. Now, again, they've got one season, and that would be about little under 10 hours of screen time. They have to present the path to salvation and get the people on that path and have them complete it all in under 10 hours. So with a lot of characters. One thing I was hoping for at the end or through the course of season 4 and especially towards the end, more I still, and I'm going to beat this drum probably until season 5 starts. So get ready for a year, another year and a half of this. But I'm like, they've got to kill some people. They've got way too many characters, and they need to start. They've got too many characters with too many plot lines. They need to start pruning people just out of self-preservation. I mean, just for the preservation of the story.
Just for the sake of the pacing of the final season, there's simply too many characters on this show. Some of these characters should have been killed off either a long time ago or their storyline should have been fleshed out. If you don't have time to flesh some of these characters' stories out, then that means you have too many characters on your show. And I think that's why we don't ever get a story for Bacta and characters like that have been introduced all the way back in season 2, but haven't given pretty much anything to do on screen because they just don't have enough time for these characters. So yeah, that was one of my biggest kind of worries coming out of season 4 and heading into season 5. There are way too many characters on this show and just not enough screen time.
Yeah, and then bringing new ones in like loony ass Patty.
Yeah, really. And then you're adding Patty to the mix, and you're taking away like 5, 10, 15, minutes in the entire season of vital screen time that could have been given to so many other characters that would have served the narrative a little better than just Patty being hysterical.
Yeah, and as you had mentioned, it was Harold Perrineau, right, that said that Patty was supposed to have actually killed herself in that. And honestly, I think that would have been so much more powerful. Just because I didn't like Patty or whatever, but it was better. It would have been better for the story, better in almost every way.
Yeah. It highlights the ramifications of From and what this place can do to people, the psychological aspect of this place. That was something that was highlighted and showcased quite a lot in those first few seasons, it felt like, where they would really lean into just how bad this place would psychologically screw with you. And that's an aspect that I don't want the show to really lose. You know what I mean? So no, I agree with you. I think if they would have had Patty like actually off herself there, it would have made that scene way better.
And then
we'd have more Patty.
Yeah, and we'd have all those characters, dealing with it, dealing with Patty splattering her brains all over the inside of the minivan. Like Boyd, Boyd would have gotten splashed, but all the characters that were in there, Acosta driving and everybody else would have had to, we could have gotten much more valuable scenes of them like processing the aftermath than and that would have been more valuable to the story than additional coddling of PTSD Patty.
Yeah. The hysterics were they just weren't needed. In a season when these are your final 2 seasons and you don't have a ton of screen time left. So you'd think you'd want to kind of allocate it a little smarter. But again, who knows? So I guess we'll see what we're gonna get with Patty in season 5. She's still hanging around. Good old Patty. And yes, I do agree with Anna as well here. There can't be any more new arrivals in season 5. That would be insane. It would be. I think it was already pushing it, having new arrivals in season 4, outside of the Man in Yellow, that is. So I was kind of glad that at least the priest got killed off right away and he didn't become another character that they didn't have time to flesh out. Because that's kind of what happened with season 2. Season 2, we got this whole bus full of characters that arrived here in Fromville, and most of them just haven't been able to get fleshed out because there's just not enough time. So yeah, I have to imagine hopefully we're not going to get any new arrivals in season 5.
Yeah. And you know, we kind of noticed that, you know, as a few people die, a few new people arrive. I would have to assume that the people in the town would realize that as people die, even if it's not exact one-for-one parity, I'm not sure if we've gotten an equilibrium yet, but there was the trend. A mass of people die at Colony House in the massacre, and the very next day, a mass of people arrive. Yeah, in the same, you know, in the same like time span. Maybe people will start to realize, hey, you know, when people die and the new people arrive, guess what? No new people are arriving. Things are different now than they ever have been. That would kind of lend a little more credence to this being. Like things are not the same as they were. We're not all, you know, we're not in this whatever repeating cycle they were in. Somehow things are different for this upcoming, you know, 10 episode time span. Hopefully, but we'll see if they even reference it. I mean, I don't know that anybody has. The closest we've come to that is the Kenny taking the roll call count of 47 people.
Yeah, 47 people. Yeah, which was a roll call count that he took before Jim died, before Sophia arrived, before Roger died, before, you know, Elgin and Muriel died. So after all of these other deaths, yeah, we're down to closer to 42, you know, 43, 42, 43 people in Fromville now. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see where they're going to go with good old Patty. But no, but Blazing One brings up a good, interesting point. In terms of like the realism aspect, yeah, I do agree with you. I love Patty. She's the chaos wild card you actually see in a place like that. And you are right. And again, I think that's a part of the reason why a lot of people find Patty so annoying is because her character is super effective. So maybe that's why the writers wanted to kind of highlight a character like this for that exact reason, Blazing One, just to showcase that every once in a while you're going to have a fucking wild card on your hands like fucking good old Patty Mel just going fucking haywire. I think it does kind of play into the realism of you throw a bunch of normal people in a situation like this, there's always going to be a few that just can't fucking handle it. So I get what you're saying, Blazing One, and I think I agree with you as well. I think, you know, in that context, Patty makes a little bit of sense.
I know that was a weird one though. I mean, she gets burned to a crisp.
Yeah,
back
You're
in the
a little overboard with it.
Yeah, burned up. Then the next scene she's baking cookies. Then the next scene she's freaking out, and you know, you put her on the away team. That is the one person you don't put on the away team.
Yeah, she's the person that gets picked last in kickball every fucking time. Poor old Patty.
You know, we're going to go on a dangerous mission because there were other people. I mean, it's not like they evacuated Colony House, so they didn't necessarily
That's what I'm saying. It's like, of all the people that you could have brought on these missions, how in the hell did NPC Roger and Patty Mel end up on this mission? NPC Roger shouldn't be trusted by anybody after all the stunts he's fucking pulled in Fromville, stealing Tien Chen's food, just thinking that he's all of a sudden a main character when he just grabs a random rope heading into a nightmare lake and just yanks on it. And then the next episode has the gall to say, oh, you're really going to pull in the rope from the nightmare lake? You're going to bring that into the surface, to the shore? Yeah. Don't get me started on NPC Roger and all of his many egregious sins. Fucking guy, man. Fuck Roger. Fuck him. Fuck that dude. Yeah, he deserved it. But no, Patty is definitely that wild card character that you would come to expect in a show like this. I do agree with you, Blazing One. You're right. But man, fuck Roger. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, NPC Roger.
NPC Roger was Dale's replacement, kinda in a sense. He kinda was, yeah.
Dale minus the charm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dale had a little bit of charm to him. You're absolutely right, Ravener. Dale had at least something that was kind of likable about him because he was funny. Like, yes, he was an asshole, but Dale had some like legit funny lines every once in a while. Still to this day, one of the more funnier ones.
This is a really bad idea.
Something strong enough to try that trap.
You really want to start pulling apart ancient tower of scary shit? I'm sure whoever built it won't mind. Jesus, fuck.
Yeah, again, I think Dale had some qualities that were fun. They were kind of fun, whether he was hilarious or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really find Roger funny. I found Roger funny to laugh at, in terms of like what a goofball Roger was. All the stupid things that he did, all of the fucking sins that he committed. I definitely think Roger was fun to laugh at. But I don't think Roger was like a funny character, not like Dale was. Like Dale legit had me in stitches sometimes, with some of the shit that come out of his fucking mouth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When everybody is loading, everybody's loading the last of the veggies in, and he's just sitting. I can't remember what it was, like a carrot or a celery or something. He's just leaning on the pole, munching on the celery, making wisecracks.
Yeah.
Dale, you're such a little shit stirrer.
Dale was a shit stirrer, man. He was. And right up till the moment he checked out of this fucking world, he was just so defiant. He completely marched to the beat of his own drum, to the point where he walked right into his own death. And there's something to be said for that kind of bullheadedness, if nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, he still thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was going to be the one.
He did. Dale fancied himself a hero. He fancied himself a main character, just like NPC Roger did a little bit. He fancied himself a main character when he grabbed on that fucking rope and he yanked on it, not knowing what the heck was on the other end of it, knowing that you're in Fromville, knowing that this is some nightmare freaking lake. Yeah, let's just grab a random rope that we see and yank on it like I'm all of a sudden a main character. No, Roger had to go.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, and I think it's kind of like the meta, like we know in these stories when an NPC starts getting lines, they're not long for the world. So it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. He started, he started getting more lines. He started being more prominent, especially in a negative way, as like a critic, or kind of like butting heads with Don or butting heads with the group. You knew, oh man, his days are numbered. That's just how shows are. But I can't even say that of all the people that were going to get messed up by the dolls, the actual characters had the plot armor, and Roger thought maybe he, like you said, maybe he thought he was a main character, maybe he thought he had the plot armor. He did not have the plot armor.
He didn't have the plot armor. And I gotta say, I was almost a little surprised by that, because usually in narratives like this, like you'll see a character like Roger that will make all of these incredibly foolish, dumb mistakes. But usually those mistakes end up getting everybody around them killed, not him killed. Usually sometimes you see that irony where this asshole just, they're not going to die themselves, but they're going to get everybody fucking around them fucking obliterated. So I part of me wondered if that's how they were going to play it. But nope, they were not giving Roger that plot armor, as you said. Nope. His plot armor was paper fucking thin. Poor dude.
But he made a big impact. He made a big impact with a short amount of time, but mostly negative. And I think Patty's doing the same.
Yeah. Similar. Very similar, for sure. But Susie says, I did end up feeling bad for Roger when I'm pretty sure that he was just regenerated and couldn't figure out what was going on in his second death, not trying to attack anyone. I don't know. Because I think when you look closer at Roger, the reanimated Roger, he has full-on monster teeth. Like if you go and look at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, like surrounding that, he has full-on just rows of monster teeth. They're kind of hard to see, like in the scene. You really have to slow that scene down, like super super slow-mo, and really kind of turn up the brightness and enhance it a little bit. But you can see that he's like full-on monster. So because I did wonder that too, Susie, because when we first see Roger kind of wake up, the first thing he does is kind of, feel for his face and try to rip off this stuff that's kind of, confining him, the mouth and the eyes that are stitched together. So I thought that he was just him, that it was actually him. He just didn't know what the hell was going on. But as it kind of continues and he kind of keeps like freaking out a little bit more, I think he was just full on zombie monster.
Yeah. with his monster sounds too. Ah.
Yeah.
And then of course Patty, it's Roger, you're still in there.
I know you're still in there. Yes, he's about to bite her face off. But no, I did at least have that initial thought too. Like when we first see him rise up and he's trying to like pull all of this stuff off his mouth and his eyes, I'm like, holy shit, did she just regenerate him? Did he just wake up? But no, I think he was well monsterfied, just based on the teeth and all of that. But man, fucking Roger. Poor Roger. But no, you do feel kind of bad for him, regardless of whether he was monsterfied or Rogerfied. Like you do feel, I guess you can feel a little bad for him. I mean, the guy committed a lot of sins, but he really only needed to die once. You didn't need to bring him back and put him through that all again.
Right. And then it didn't even get a barrel. He just got a little bonfire out in the driveway. They just threw him on the brush pile.
Yeah, just threw him on the brush pile. And again, the cemetery's all full up, and Roger isn't exactly a human body they're burying, at least not anymore. So yeah, throw him on the fucking pyre. But yeah, he didn't want the mouth of teeth. This is very true, Susie. He didn't ask for it. He did not ask for it. Dale and Roger came to Fromville in a car together. Can you imagine? I couldn't. I don't know if I could imagine them coming into a car together, because I imagine if them two were in a car together for more than 2 hours, they'd end up killing each other. One of them would end up dead. And I get the feeling it would probably be Dale killing Roger.
Or it's like, yeah, you'd stop at a gas station or something and just leave him, like while he's inside getting a Slim Jim or something. You just like, man, I'm putting it in drive and going.
Yeah. No, and 100% like drunk drivers, as Xavier said, hurt everybody else around them but them fucking selves. That's usually that kind of archetype that these characters like a Roger plays, just getting everybody around them fucking just slaughtered, but totally fine themselves. But again, looks like they weren't giving him that plot armor this time. Good stuff. Episode 2 is also foreshadowing. Kenny said, denial branch of our family tree. It starts with Kenny cutting the tree. The blood soaked in the wood. The blood of the children went into the roots. Ooh, interesting, Sunflower. Okay. I can pick that up. Yeah. Okay. Some interesting kind of similarities there. Maybe some parallels. Was this a foreshadowing? I like the tree and the denial of the branch of our family tree. And even in one point in this episode, we even hear Kenny's father talking to the nurse about how Kenny kind of does that. Like Kenny, first thing he does when he gets to America is he wants an American name. He wants to leave his traditional, Chinese name behind, and he wants a regular American name. So yeah, maybe, that fits into the denial of the branch of the family tree in a sense, to the point where Kenny is literally severing that tree with an axe by the time you get to the end of the episode. So no, I can see some of the parallels. What did Kenny do? Cut down a tree to make new path for a new pawn, all foreshadowing to season 4. Again, when I see some of the foreshadowings on the show, some of them definitely seem like they were set up very early on, very specifically to get paid off later on. Whereas sometimes they come off a little more vague, like they're throwing something in to see what it grows into. And I think that's some of the differences that we see from some of the foreshadowings early on in season 1. But no, I think it's an interesting parallel, if nothing else. Was Patty and Roger a couple? I certainly hope not. I have no idea. But I mean, I guess if they were, it would kind of make sense. Fucking Patty and Roger, a couple. Fuck me. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine Patty getting the Fatima treatment and having a monster baby.
Oof, yeah. And yeah, I mean, if they were in a car together, as Susie says, Roger would end up getting them pulled over something stupid like a seatbelt ticket, and Dale would be driving drunk, probably actually. I mean, I don't think they would have the best road trip, those two, for sure. For sure. But yeah, and again, Kenny, dealing with the death of his father here, we hear him talking to Father Cautry, a little bit, before this. And he's kind of telling him how he's just at the end of his road. He's at the end of it. He can't find any more dead bodies. And he says this because he's worried about Christy at the time. And this reminds me a little bit of Kenny coming back to town in season 3, episode 1, episode 2, to find out Tien Chen was dead. Where, he's kind of worried this whole time about Christy. He's worried, he knows she's out there in the RV. He knows that they're doing this experimental kind of talisman use that they've never tried before, seeing if it'll work in the car under this circumstance. So he's super worried about losing someone very close to him in Christy, only to find out that while he's worried about that, he loses his father at the same time. And I thought it just reminded me a little bit of Kenny in season 3, when he's out there, he's returning the triumphant hero, only to realize that him being absent is what kind of caused the death of his mother. Or at least if he would have been there, he would have had a much better chance of saving his mother's life. So I like this aspect when I'm kind of going back and watching this part of Kenny, or Kenny going through this in this episode. He's so worried about losing Christy that he ends up losing his father.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a friend the other day about this, but death is for the dead. Death is for the dead, but it's like the survivors that have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I do kind of, and I like that you draw that comparison, because both times Kenny's worried about somebody else and he ends up losing the people closest to him.
Exactly.
And don't think for a second. I know you. I think everybody gets up in their head when dealing with situations like that. So it's got to be it's got to be in his head too. It's like every time I go away, somebody that I should stay back to protect ends up dying.
It's tough. It's profound again, and it's almost a little bit of kind of history repeating itself for Kenny, where he's so focused on one thing that he ends up losing another, and both times it ends up being his parents, his father, and then his mother. Just an interesting parallel that kind of just seemed to kind of be there very vaguely on the surface. But we got Katrina Marie for $4.99. Thank you so much, Katrina Marie. Very much appreciate you. So I love PM's theory that the Pratts represent the OG sacrifice, but them only having a daughter does disprove the theory about the boy in white being the son. I guess that's an interesting question. Now, yes, I like the idea that PM was talking about in terms of like the Pratt family being like a stand-in, I guess, a representation of the original sacrifice of a mom failing to save her child, in a sense, which is kind of what Jade and Tabitha did. Even if they were in on the sacrifice in the beginning, it seems like at the very end or towards the last moments, they tried to save their child but failed, just like what happened with Megan. Her mom tried to save her, but failed. But if that is the case, and if Megan and, her family are a representation of the original kind of OG parents, the original Jade and Tabitha, does that mean that the boy in white might not be the original Jade and Tabitha's son? Because as far as we can tell, the Pratt family only has a daughter. I don't know. I guess that's an interesting question, and a question that we just don't have enough data on to know definitively one way or another. Could we come to find out that the Pratt family did have a son? I don't know. Maybe not. I highly doubt that we'll ever learn anything more about the Pratt family at this point. I feel like maybe what we see is what we get. So I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. If the Pratt family is a representation of it, does that mean that the boy in white might not be the son? I don't know. Or could there be an instance where both of these things are true in a sense, where the death of Megan is meant to be a symbolic reference of the Onkui child getting killed. But that's not necessarily mean that the boy in white couldn't still be the son, I suppose. But I don't know. I think that's an interesting question, if nothing else.
I kind of just felt like it was plot expedience. They needed to stack a body count before the first title sequence played.
Yeah. I mean, I love how the show starts off on a just a huge big moment like that, and you want to see, you know, shows kind of start off with a bang like that. Those are the best kind of shows that really draw you in with something profound that you didn't expect to see within the first 10 minutes. And it definitely served that purpose a million times over. I mean, how many times do we hear people talking about the first 10 minutes of the show is what got people just completely hooked right from that point on. So yeah, it served its purpose. It was effective.
Yeah. And then sometimes for some people, Granny is still their favorite monster.
Yep.
And the big question: how did she get onto the second floor? Can they jump? Can they
She
fly?
get on the roof. Yeah, we were talking about that just on the our previous stream when we were talking about episode 1. That was one of the discussions in the chat. How did Granny get on that freaking roof? And one person in the chat had a pretty interesting idea, or an interesting theory at least, that I had never heard before. Brand new theory, and I love that this many years into not just watching From, but covering From as a content creator and seeing thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of comments over the years. To still be able to find new theories that I haven't seen before is super fascinating. And it's a huge testament to the creativity of you guys in the chat, how creative you are with your theory crafting. But there's one interesting specific shot at the very beginning of season 1, episode 1. And it shows the above head of, it's an overhead shot of the town. Like, it's very much probably most likely a drone footage, but it's this drone kind of flying over the town of Fromville. And we see the camera slowly kind of pan and focus right in on the Pratt family. And someone thought that might be an actual POV of Granny Monster flying towards the Pratt house and landing on the freaking roof. Because again, if you go back and actually watch that scene, the camera angle does look suspiciously like a POV angle, the way it kind of tilts and turns right towards the Pratt family and goes right down. I always just thought it's just an establishing shot. And I still kind of think that it's more of a tinfoil theory, if anything, but it's a fun one. I thought it was a fun tinfoil theory that I hadn't heard before. It's something new that someone came up with. But again, I do think it's most likely just an establishing shot. They're showing us, the audience, that this is the town that the show is setting, and they're showing us the house that this act is about to take place in. But I thought it was an interesting connection that the person came up with, that maybe it's a POV of Granny flying towards the Pratt house.
We know they burst through. I mean, like they could burst through when they need to. They can burst, like they burst through the box with no problem.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want the monsters to be able to fly personally. I feel like that could look a little wonky, a little again, one thing that we've really, or at least I've really liked about the monsters up until this point, is that they've been, pretty sophisticated in terms of like the kind of villain that they are. Like they're not like whimsical, they're not outlandish, like they're very much grounded in this kind of real, super scary, imposing kind of aspect to them. Like the whole shark on land thing that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
As soon as they show up, you instantly feel that feeling of being in danger. But if all of a sudden they can just like fly, I don't know, does that make them less intimidating? I think it does for me. I mean, if they could maybe just like float and like hover a little bit, and that's kind of how Granny got on the roof, maybe that would be okay. But I don't know if I want the monsters to be like full on flying around. I feel like that would take away from some of their, how scary they are.
Yeah, I could almost see them like climb, like doing like almost a spider climb,
super fast climb, or a super high jump or something.
Yeah, I at this point, especially at this point, 4 seasons in, if you haven't given them the power of flight yet, then they don't have the power of flight. And I think I like that. I like how limited they are. Because just like heroes, I mean,
they're slow, they're not fast. Like they operate a very specific way, and it doesn't change.
Right. And that's the same way. I always say the same thing about like a hero. They have to have a weakness. They have to have a limitation. Yeah. And monsters, they have their limitations. They have things that they cannot do. They cannot go into a talisman secured house. There's certain things that they can't do or that they don't do just by their nature. Superman has to have kryptonite. Everything has to have a foil. and the monsters are exactly what they need to be in terms of in terms of their role.
Yeah.
And as you said, like sharks on land, when you see the fin, that fin becomes your sole focus, and you know that you need to get away. There's not, just I'll do it in a minute, or I've got X number of seconds. It becomes 100% of your survival instinct is dedicated to getting away from that fin. And when the monsters are around, the exact same thing. You don't wait around to see what they're going to do. You don't wait around. Maybe they'll attack, maybe they won't, maybe they'll have a line of dialogue, or maybe they won't. You don't know. But if you think they're going to have a line of dialogue, you may end up disemboweled, because that's the other option.
Yeah, I love that. I just love that aspect of, like, the second they show up, you just know it's instant danger. Instant danger is around you, and it's really just a matter of time before they get you. The monsters have just been super menacing. I think they really did craft a super unique villain here. Even if the characteristics of the monsters are a little bit similar to other creatures we've seen in the past, like vampires and stuff like that, it's still very much its own take on this kind of creature that we're getting here. And it works. Again, it works really well, to the point where people really, really kind of start to dislike when the show doesn't have a lot of monsters in it, which I totally understand. I mean, that was one of the big criticisms of season 4. Not enough monsters. We didn't get nearly enough of our original monsters. And I agree. I 100% agree with that criticism. We didn't get nearly enough.
And the episodes that they are prominent in are typically the best episodes. And I felt that, and again, man, you're in the moment. You're not being told a story. You're in the moment with the character when the monsters are there, because they are the 100% imminent threat. Even just the way it's filmed, everything about it, you're in that moment, and your pulse is pounding, and you want to know what's going to happen. And another strength, and coming from the guy who criticizes character bloat or whatever, the amount of characters, having that many, the thing about having so many monsters is you can't keep track. You can't keep track of all of them at the same time. You're focused on 1 or 2 or 5 in front of you, and you don't know where the other ones are. And they kind of spoke to that when Kenny was going out on his adventure to stab the milkman. There were so many that they can't always keep track. Now, they used Randall's tracking of them to kind of give them an indication of where they might be, but they didn't anticipate that the monsters knew their plan, so that they would start drifting towards the safe houses and kind of like blocking off the safe houses,
blocking off the exits.
So again, as you're running away from 1 or 2, or you've got 2 or 3 in focus, you never know where the other ones might be, or they might come out of the bush here or there. And again, you're in that situation where, you're outnumbered, but you aren't aware. Like you see the shark fin on top of the water, but that doesn't mean that there's not another 2 or 3 deeper under.
Exactly. Yes, you see the one, but as for all I know, I'm gonna poke my goggles down, and I'm gonna see 20 fucking of those motherfuckers right beneath my feet. So yeah, again, it just adds that super intimidating and scary feeling when they show up, where it's just instant danger. We are in imminent instant danger. And I like that. I like that aspect of the monsters. I think it works incredibly well for them. Yeah, Lost Boys flying into please, let's not get any Lost Boys flight. We don't need that. Or maybe we do. I don't fucking know. Maybe we do. But we also have Sunflower for $4.99 as well. Thank you so much, Sunflower, for the $4.99. Very much appreciate it. Can we say that before she kills Toby, she gave him water? What does that remind us? It's like Sophia and all the time she used water in season 4. Interesting. I mean, yeah, she does give him a sip of water. She also gives him a good kiss as well before she kills his ass. Again, I don't know. Maybe it is another sign of another connection there, I guess, of the Man in Yellow / Sophia and the manipulation that Sarah was being put through in this first season.
Yep. And I could be, I could see Toby. It's like, oh no, cut. We need to do that scene over again. We need to do the kiss again. Sorry, didn't quite get it.
Yeah, again, the whole scene is just super fucking strange, super strange, and I really hope we finally get a definitive answer this season. I hope that's not something that they leave ambiguous or they leave open ended in terms of why exactly this happened. Why did Toby need to die?
Right. It's so, and at the time we're still processing, we're still learning it at the same time. We're still getting our feet on the ground as far as like who Sarah is and what's going on with her. So as she's, even as she's killing Toby, which was, again, that was a shocker too, because she was the designated caretaker right up until. Yeah, and she was good. She was the nice person. She was the one telling everybody to go home from the diner. Make sure you get home safe. She was sweet. She was a sweetie, right up until she shoved that screwdriver up inside of Toby's chin.
She was sweet right up until the point where she committed murder. They're all sweet until they commit murder. But no, yeah, again, it's just I think the whole Toby thing has been a fascinating kind of topic among the From fandom ever since the very beginning, just because there's just so much about it we don't know. Even after all of these seasons later, they haven't gone back to the Toby thing once yet. And I think that's why it's such a hot button issue and why it's something that fans really want to learn, because there's nothing there, and it's just such a weird, random thing that happens. I don't know. Whereas the Man in Yellow just trying to isolate Jade, make sure that he was alone, didn't have his best friend, didn't have someone to lean on. Maybe it was just that. Or did he think that Toby was really Jade, for all we know? Again, so many questions there. So many questions. But hopefully we get some kind of answer, because this Toby thing has been dragging on way too long. Fucking way too long. But yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and she does say at some point, right? She had to make it look. I think she was telling Nathan, right, that the voices told her that she had to make it look like the monsters did it.
Well, I don't know if she actually ever voices that out loud, but it's very much implied between the lines in this scene right here, when we hear Sarah kind of talking back and forth with the voices, and the voices are telling her what to do, and she's saying what, why. You can tell the voices tell her to go to the draw. They tell her to grab the scalpel. They tell her to go and, kind of just mutilate Toby's body to make it look like a monster killed him. And then it seems that they also tell her to take the talisman off the door so the monsters can get in and kill everybody in the clinic, and it'll just look like a monster attack.
Oh, okay. Man, that's another Mandela effect, because I could have sworn maybe it's in this. I thought it was in this scene that she said it, but I mean, I could be completely wrong. I mean,
she might. In terms of her mentioning it to her brother, she might. I mean, she could. She might mention it to her brother. I know she says, like I had to or something like that.
Yeah. I think. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
maybe
didn't have a choice.
Where she's sitting here. There's another scene where she's talking about the girl with the broken glass or whatever. I could be completely wrong. I mean.
Yeah, I think she does. I think she does tell Nathan. She says, I didn't have a choice or something like that.
Yeah, I could. There it is. Yeah. They told me it had to look like it was monsters.
That's it. Yeah. It was straight. And again, the Man in Yellow wants to keep Sarah's cover, for lack of a better term, intact. So it makes sense. If I have this asset on the ground that is willing to murder people at my beck and call, then that's an asset I'm going to want to protect. I mean, she killed Toby for me, but I might need her to kill some more people, which it does, because we see later on in the season, it also asks her to kill freaking Ethan.
Right.
So it very much just wants to protect her asset and just cover this whole thing up and make it seem like it was a monster attack.
Yeah, that is wild. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, why compromise your asset when you don't have to?
Yeah. Yeah, you never want to burn an asset, not if you don't have to. Sure, you never know when these assets are going to come into play. Kind of have these little birds everywhere, like good old Lord Varys. But yeah, and again, Sarah she's very plagued by this. She's definitely not something that she wants to do. But at this point, very early on, this is before Sarah really finds herself, before she really starts to evolve as a character and realize what this place really is. This is very much, young and green Sarah that's very easily manipulated. But she really evolves as a character incredibly well. I think in terms of how much she changes from season 1 to who she is in season 4, she goes on such a really fun arc. Like, I mean, her kind of just taking out Elgin's eye at the end of season 3 and really kind of stepping into that role of, okay, this is the kind of character I can be. This is the role I can play within town.
Right.
I thought that was a great evolution for her character. And I know PM loves her some Sarah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I loved it too. She was,
yeah.
It was like she did it once Kenny figured out, once everybody knew that she was a murderer or whatever. She made like the token attempt to say, it wasn't. I thought I was doing the right thing. That's not who I am. But then when everybody had kind of turned on her, even Ethan, told her that she was a monster. She kind of just almost embraced being beyond redemption and was the exact person to go in and go to work on Elgin, because she I don't know if in so many words, but she essentially told Boyd, I'm already lost, so nothing I do is going to make it any worse for me than it already is. So yeah, she was the perfect person. And again, because she seems so sweet, and I mean, obviously she has a lot of fans that are sympathetic to her. Just to have her be the ones to take the gloves off and like, Boyd, I know you're not gonna if you do what I'm gonna do, this is going to damage you, but I'm already beyond redemption, so give me the toolbox and let me go to work. And it looked like Boyd, obviously Boyd had smashed his hand already. So Boyd was getting that, Boyd was on that trajectory. And and then it turned out Sarah was the one to I'll get the answer for you. And she did. She just came out and she's like,
yeah, hold my beer, give me the screwdriver.
Yeah.
No, I like
interesting character. And we almost and I remember a lot of people like kind of lost faith in her when she so uncharacteristically got the voices came back, and then she started doing the stuff with the water with Sophia and whatnot. And that's still there's still a lot of discussion to be had as to the nature of that, and
manipulated a little too easy after everything she knows.
But by the same token, she was getting it, I mean, directly from the source too. It wasn't from a distance or anything else. Although, what was it, the actual From Twitter account, when they were talking about how she was getting the voices in the diner and how they were affecting her from so far away. And what was it? They said something like, "Who said it was far away?" So, like there was somebody in the diner that was.
Yes, Sarah's one of the more fun characters, I think, in terms of just she's gone on a pretty interesting arc from this kind of manipulated, scared kind of teenager character that she was at the beginning to like this full-on like grown young adult that's sure of herself and confident, ready to fucking throw herself in danger in a moment's fucking notice if it means protecting Boyd. I love the arc that her character takes.
Yeah, she went from normal face to mean face.
Good old Sarah. Good old Sarah. Yeah, Sarah's fun, man. Sarah's fun.
So does she get out? Does she get out?
One thing I like about Sarah, though, is the actress that plays Sarah defends her like to the bone. Like anytime like she's doing an interview or anything, and like someone will say like Sarah's crazy, like the actress will be like, no, she's not crazy. Like she's doing all of this for a very specific reason. So I love how the actress completely defends Sarah like to the fucking bone.
So does Sarah get out in season 5? Does she make it out?
No,
Nope.
no, I don't think so. I don't think Sarah will make it out. I think Sarah has very much positioned herself to be like, as Anna says, she's like Boyd's enforcer at this fucking point. I do see Sarah dying. I don't see her making it all the way out. I would love to see her make it out, but I don't. I think she'll die in saving someone, whether it's Boyd or the Matthews family. Or I think it would be very fitting if she died saving Boyd, but I also think it would be just as fitting if she dies saving Ethan. Dies saving the kid that she once tried to kill. Like, that's a perfect redemption arc right there. So I don't think Sarah's going to make it, unfortunately. What about you? I think Sarah's making it out.
I really don't. Yeah, I think very, very, very similar. I mean, she was already reconciled with being lost, and even doing bad things for a good reason. You can only go so far with that. And she did it to Elgin. Hell, she might get blamed for Elgin's. She might get blamed for Elgin's death if
she might. Yeah, you're gonna be prime suspect number one.
Oh, Sarah went in and finished the job.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was in the diner. Yeah, it was in the diner too.
Yeah, Sarah did it in the diner with the fucking candlestick. But yeah, I don't know. I just, as much as I would love to see her make it out, I do feel like she's going to be one of the characters that doesn't. But who knows? Who knows? I think Sarah will sacrifice herself for Boyd, or better yet, Ethan. Yeah, just to redeem herself. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think Boyd and Ethan are the two most likely candidates. I mean, Julie would be a good one too. So would Tabitha. Anyone in the Matthews family, really. But Ethan in particular would be the most fitting, and I think that would give her the redemption that she's been seeking, or at least the peace that she's been seeking. I feel like Sarah is, even though she's kind of found out who she is, even though she has become much stronger, I do feel that deep down, Sarah is still a tormented character. Like, she still has so much pain and stuff that she's still dealing with down there. Yes, she's gotten a lot better, a lot stronger, but it's still there. Yeah. That stuff just doesn't disappear.
Yeah. And I mean, and she's going to be in a situation like a lot of people, like Donna, like several others. What does the real world have to offer to them?
Mm-hmm.
Say you get back, say you get out, and now what? What do you do? You've got no brother. You're on your own. Eesh.
Yeah. And I think that's what's interesting about Victor's character here. As Anna says, Victor will save Ethan or die trying. I could totally see Victor dying, saving Ethan. 100%. I think Victor's another character that's probably not going to make it out of Fromville. Because like you said, what would he do in the real world? What would Victor do out there? He's never seen a smartphone. He doesn't know what the internet is. Like, he just doesn't know what modern world living is. And I think that's why we see him, earlier on in the earlier seasons, when he tells Jade, like, hell, this is my home. I don't want to go home because I'm already home. This is the only home I've ever known. So yeah, I don't think Victor's going to be a character that's going to leave either.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of similarities to people who've been in prison for so many times, for so long. They're institutionalized. They can't function on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll do stuff just to go back to what they already know. So
I mean, it gets to the point where at least inside they know what to expect. They know that they're going to have a bed to sleep in, 3 square meals a day, and relative safety. But yeah, being in the outside world, for someone like Victor, who again has been like pretty much in prison for the last 40 years. How is he going to adapt? How's he going to live? How's he going to maintain a job with all the trauma that he has, just laden within him? Will he be able to function in a normal society?
Henry's not going to make it, so he'll be without his dad even.
Exactly. Henry's not going to make it, so he'll be alone. I mean, whatever part of the Matthews family survives would maybe take him in. Like, if Tabitha survives with Ethan and Julie, they would definitely take him in. But still, it's going to be incredibly tough for Victor in the outside world if he does leave. We'll see.
Yeah, Donna's already predicted her ending.
Yeah.
And no sister, no nothing. I thought about that. I mean, they're maybe Randall has a warrant. Maybe he didn't want to go back.
Maybe. Yeah, or maybe he's AWOL. I love the idea of Randall being like ex-military, or I would love the idea of him like being AWOL or something. Like he just took off, he went AWOL, and boom, he ends up in front of it.
Yeah, and his nephew still thinks he's getting a drone for his birthday.
Exactly. Yeah. Little do we know that drone's fucking dusted. Dusted. The Man in Yellow is a failed shock jock DJ like Howard Stern. He had on his radio show where he plays tunes and talks crap over CB radios. I mean, you ain't half wrong, Xavier. You are not half wrong, my friend. And I guess that would be one interesting part to see, like, does the Man in Yellow actually have a radio, or is this just something that he can just kind of tap into, the way that he can tap into talking to Sarah directly? But I don't know, something about the imagery of the Man in Yellow, like sitting down at a desk talking into a radio, it strikes me as just funny, like, because he's been able to kind of just do all this stuff, like, just with his mind. The idea of him just sitting at a table talking into a radio is fucking hilarious.
Or yeah, one of the cars in the car graveyard has one of those 8-foot long whip antennas that they.
Yeah.
10-4, I'm a breaker 19.
Breaker 19. We got a situation on our hand. We got Jim's wife Tabitha digging a hole in her basement. We gotta have her stopped.
Come on back, yeah.
Oh fuck. And again, he did have like that southern kind of, it was very, very subtle, very, very slight, but that first voice that we hear come over the radio at the end of season 1, obviously it wasn't the voice of Doug. Doug hadn't been cast in the role at that point yet. But the voice had like this kind of southern little twang to it. It was very, very subtle, but a very slight little southern drawl. Your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, Jim. I don't know. It was great. Fucking great scene, man. Yeah, but the Man in Yellow just sitting at a radio, it gets me. Especially to kill Ethan, killed Nathan, her brother. Yeah, again, Sarah done some shit. Sarah's done some shit, that's for sure. Everyone dies except Clara. Oof, now wouldn't that be an ending? Everybody dies except Clara. And Clara just becomes what, like the next Victor, or does Clara actually make it out, I guess is the question. That would be anticlimactic.
That would put this show up with like Game of Thrones season 8 as far as like hated.
It'd be up there. It'd be up there high on the fucking list. Oh man. Sarah is a pretty tragic character, so I don't know if they'll give her redemption. It would be a harder pill to swallow if she didn't get redemption. I think so. I feel like they're leaning a little bit more into the direction of her getting some kind of redemption, but she might not. That's definitely 100% a very real possibility that you bring up, that she just might not have any kind of redemption because she is too much of a tragic character. I could totally see that being the case. 100%. 1,000,000%. Sometimes not every character gets the kind of redemption arc that we want them to get. I'd like to see her get it, but she might not. Sarah might not get redemption.
Nah, sad to say. I mean, I want to see I want to see her last as long as possible. But yeah, some of these people, you just know that they have a tragic ending coming. And it really is. I mean, is it going to be 2 people? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be, 5 mains and a bunch of NPCs that get out? I mean, we don't even know the method by which they can. They don't even know the method by which they can. Do they complete a ritual and then Fromville just blinks out of existence and everybody just is back in the real world? Are they out in the, out on the road wherever they came from, where they started from? That, there's no telling.
Yeah. Again, one thing that I do wish that they could have gone a little bit into some of the backstories, just a little bit more in terms of, some of what these characters were in the real world. I get why John Griffin, kind of stated he was never going to really dive super deep into that. Just didn't really have enough time. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to learn a little bit more, because then I think when we do see at the end, when some of these characters do make it out, whichever ones do make it out anyway, I think we would have had just a little bit more context, I guess, in terms of, okay, how are they going to function in society now? What are they going back home to? Because I think that's a big part of characters' motivations. It's one thing to want to get out of this place, but I think, what they're getting out and what they're going home to, like, that's usually a huge motivation for characters, what they're fighting for, what they're trying to get to. And I get it, they're fighting for their freedom, and that sometimes it's all you really need. But I think it would have been just, added an interesting little extra layer to some of these characters if some of them had like families or something that they were trying to get home to, just adding that personal stake to some of these things. But yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes down to the full ending, like the actual real ending, I think that the faraway trees are ultimately going to be the way out. I think the main bottle faraway tree getting ripped out is going to have, just catastrophic freaking results in season 5, where I think the conditions are going to continue to worse. I wouldn't be surprised if Fromville is slowly going to start to implode ever since that tree was ripped out. But I wouldn't be surprised if, there, again, we know that there are other trees. I think there are 7 trees in total. I think there are 6 inside Fromville and 1 in the real world. I think the one in the real world that Miranda made into a bottle tree is actually a faraway tree. And I think there's a reason why the audience didn't get to see that tree, why Henry and Tabitha don't travel to it, even though they were on their way to it. But the writers made sure to let us as the audience know that there is a tree out there in that park in the real world. I wouldn't be surprised if the tree in the park in the real world is taking up the same kind of physical space as the tree, as the main bottle tree in Fromville, just in 2 different planes of existence. Same place, 2 different planes, where it's kind of as above, so below type thing, where you have the faraway tree in Fromville, and then you have the faraway tree in the real world. Maybe that's going to ultimately be the exit. Maybe once they finally figure out a way to save these children and put them to rest, and the children are satisfied, all of their quest, quote unquote, is complete. What if the faraway trees are ultimately going to be the escape, the way out of Fromville? And maybe the exit will be them exiting out of the faraway tree that's in the real world. Just part of me has a feeling that these faraway trees were built to be doorways, not just doorways to travel within Fromville, but a doorway in and out of Fromville as well.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool. Yeah, like Susie says, maybe they'll yeah, what's happening at the park in Camden, Maine? Yeah, everybody might just get dumped out into the real world in Camden, like end up like looking around and like, what the hell is this? And of course, Tabby will be alive.
Of course,
Tabby will say, no, I'm in Camden, Maine.
Yeah.
No.
By the way, guys, new Spider-Man is good. I am actually, I'm going to try and check it out tomorrow. From what I'm hearing, it's actually one of the better Tom Holland Spider-Man films. And the Tom Holland ones just haven't really been too great. I actually like the one, the previous one. I think, seeing, maybe it's just my bias or my nostalgia factor, seeing Tobey Maguire back on screen again. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to check it out. I'm hearing good things about this new one. But
who's the villain? Who's the villain in this one?
I think I don't know. I think he's got from just what I've seen from the trailer, it looks like there's a bunch of villains. He's got Scorpion in there, all kinds of, like, his whole rogues gallery. But I don't know what who the main villain is. I think the Hand. I know the Hand's going to be one of the villains. The Daredevil villains, the Hand. I know they're in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. Your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, Jim. He did. I'm telling you, go back and watch that scene, guys. I'm not crazy. You go back and watch the line. Your wife shouldn't be digging that hole. Jim. It's there. There's a little bit of that southern drawl to it. Your wife should be digging that hole, Jim. It's there. I promise you, I'm not crazy. I promise. What the hell is happening in the park in Camden, Maine then? That's what I think is happening in the park in Camden, Maine. I think in the park in Camden, Maine is a faraway tree. I think the tree that Miranda put bottles in Camden, Maine, I think she put bottles in that tree because she recognized it as a faraway tree. And maybe she just instinctually, subconsciously knew to put these bottles in it because she's put bottles in trees like this throughout the centuries. We did get that kind of confirmation that Miranda and Jade 100% have been the one that have been creating these bottle trees and putting all the bottles in them. And, most likely to help further generations, their future reincarnations, solve the things that they need to solve to save the children. I think that could be a very real possibility where the tree in Camden, Maine, in the real world, is an actual faraway tree. And it's actually the 7th faraway tree. 6 in Fromville, 7th in the real world. But then again, just theory. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe the exit will be something totally different. Maybe they're all just going to have to pile out of the freaking lighthouse and just do a swan dive, for all we know. Matrix style.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They've got some work to do ahead of them for 6 and 5, though. I'll just say that, man. They've got a lot of loose ends to tie up, a lot of story to tell. I always talk about running out of runway. That even every season, they've only got so much runway to get everything that they need to fit in. And I want to see, man. And now we've got a hard out. In 10 episodes of. I'm hoping maybe the episodes, maybe they'll let them go a little longer. None of this 37-minute crap.
Maybe.
I will not allow it. It's. But yeah, maybe we'll get like the full 1 hour episode, and God forbid we'll get maybe a 1.5 episode, like an hour and a half, or
that would be great,
something like that.
Like for the final episode, like the last episode of season 5, I would love for us to get a nice extended 90-minute episode. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, after everything's resolved and they are back, they kind of do. I mean, they have to at least make a token effort to check in on whoever it is that survives, what their life, like you were talking about, what are they going back to? They have to at least, I mean, that would be tying up the story. That would be finishing the story. Yeah. Just like Lord of the Rings, it didn't end when they threw the ring in the Mount Doom. You have to go back and show what they preserved, what was destroyed.
What were they fighting for? What are they going home to? What kind of condition are they going to be in after they've gone through this incredibly arduous journey? Are they ever going to be the same again? I love those kind of epilogue storytellings.
Yeah. And they have to do, I mean, and who knows how many characters are going to escape, but and we've talked about Boyd and his boat. Does Boyd actually get his boat? Will we get that? A lot of stuff remains to be seen. I am going to be so vigilant about not getting spoilers, because I think that would be ruinous to, and people can't help themselves. They can't stop themselves from doing it. But it's sad, right when we're in the heart of the season, so full of anticipation for what's coming next, and not being able to really go on Twitter or Reddit or anywhere without the risk of having it dumped on us. That's one thing I liked about the Ice and Fire Discord, is that there was a place for spoilers for the people who wanted to post them and talk about them, but it was sequestered from the rest of the group. So if people were into that, they could go and enjoy the Discord, and if you were not into that, you could go and enjoy the Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't mind a movie length finale as well. It would be nice. Just again, this final season, they got a lot riding on it. There's so much that they need to get through, so much they need to finish up. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to tackle this final chapter of this show. it's going to be a tall task, but I don't know. I guess we'll see if they can do it. What is the Tabby and Man in Yellow relationship? Foes, exes? Exactly. We still need to find out that what's really going on there. Again, if we don't get very early on in season 5, if we don't get a flashback to the original timeline and actually get to see the original Jade and the original Tabitha for ourselves, if that doesn't happen within the first 3 or 4 episodes of the final season, I'm officially going to be worried, because I wonder how the pacing is going to look like. And I think the first 2 or 3 episodes is going to be very indicative as to how the whole season is going to kind of come across. But we really need to see that original timeline, and very early on. Hell, I thought we were going to get a glimpse of the original Jade and the original Tabitha in season 4. I thought this would be the season where we meet them. Yes, we don't have to get everything this season, but at least one tiny flashback showing us the original timeline and the original parents. Why have we not seen that yet at least once? It just, I don't know, it makes me a little bit worried that they're just going to overload season 5 with just tons of answers and not much kind of fleshed out storytelling, just reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal. At least I really hope that's not going to be the structure for the final season.
Yeah. We got bamboozled by Colonial Woman casting.
Right? Where's the fucking Colonial Woman? God damn it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. And I mean, we already know. I mean, I will assume that the original Jade was the railroad spike in the eye Jade.
Until we see otherwise, I think he's the most likely candidate to be the original.
Yeah, just time period wise, and the blood skull, the blood in the skull and all that kind of stuff.
And the fact that Jade was seeing him multiple times that this version of Jade is coming up to him, holding the skull, wanting him to drink from this skull. So yeah, it does. You do kind of get the sense that might have been the original Jade.
It'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, they won't have the pilgrim like the Quaker Oats hat or anything. I don't think he looked more like a working class guy, not a gentleman planter.
100%.
And even little girl Tabitha in her period,
in her garb, very much of the same time period, it seemed. I don't know. We need to see the original Jade, and we need to see the original Tabitha, hopefully very early on in season 5, and a definitive origin story for the Man in Yellow, which I was a little disappointed we didn't get a little bit more of that in season 4. That just something a little more on the Man in Yellow, where he might have come from, why he's really doing all of this. What does he have invested in keeping these cycles going? Why does he want these cycles to not stop? Again, they got a lot of stuff to get through in season 5.
Yeah, I would, and I know that he's probably taken on multiple forms over the centuries or whatever. But it would be super cool to see Colonial Jade and Colonial Tabitha and whatever actors they have portraying them, and having the original Doug. I could see Doug in a Quaker Oats hat. He could be like I don't know what, like a Cotton Mather kind of guy. Making. I would like to just see that. We've been told about it. We know enough about it to know where the story comes from. But I'd just like to see it portrayed. I'd like to see the original Faustian bargain being made, and a little bit of the situation on the ground at that time that drove them to that horrible decision.
Why did they make this bargain in the first place? Was it just born out of greed, or is there a deeper reason?
So yeah, I'd love to see it. Again, man, they are filming already?
They are. They're already filming. They've already been filming for a few weeks now, actually. Yeah.
And I know, as I learn more about, as I learn more about filming and everything, we know that they film things out of sequence. They'll film certain things at the very, they'll film things from episode 1 at the very end of their filming schedule. So we can never, I automatically just assume that every show films it from beginning to end, like we see it, but it isn't like that at all. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they'll come up with? And
Yeah.
I love how the cast is very. They either keep the information away from the cast until it's critical, or and then even then the cast has been very coy or very canny about not spoiling things, which I think is excellent. Oh, do you think so? Ellis, does he get out?
Oof, unfortunately, probably. Unfortunately, probably. Just because I feel like, when it comes to Ellis's storyline, and they kind of set this up in season 4, where, Boyd is very much kind of feeling like if I can't get you out of here, if I can't get Ellis, my son, out of this place, then that means all of this was for nothing. I killed my own wife for nothing. And I just don't think that they're going to do that to Boyd's character. I do think Boyd will get his son out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What about you? You think Ellis is going to make it?
I honestly, I think, and he's another one. If Boyd dies and Fatima's monsterized, well, he's going to be another, he's just going to be dumped out in Camden, Maine, with not a whole lot to go, not a whole lot to do. What's my job? I'm an artist.
Yeah, I'm an artist. Yeah, I draw things.
Lots of luck, bud. Him and Victor can be bunkmates. At the homeless shelter. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll fit in incredibly well together. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, it'd be cool if they gave us a movie episode like Star Trek Next Generation did with the both. I mean, with the Borg. Yes. I mean, well, even like looking back at Lost, for instance, when you got to the final season of Lost, the finale, the last episode of Lost is like 2.5 hours long. 2.5 freaking hours. We legit got a full movie feature length episode for the finale of Lost. And Lost isn't the only show that has done that. Plenty of shows kind of, go all out with their final episode, and they'll do, 90-minute episodes quite commonly. I don't know. I mean, I would love to see MGM do something like that. I'm not sure if they will. MGM has been they've been super strict, it seems, with a lot of their screen time and a lot of their episode length. It's been very consistent from season 1 all the way to now. Just about every single episode is right around that 40 to 50 minute mark, right around there. But I don't know. Again, this is the final season. Maybe they'll switch that up a little bit. I don't know. I have to imagine that they've been hearing the fans' complaints, if nothing else. They definitely seem like they keep their ear to the ground and listen to, some of those things that the fans say. They're definitely looking at a lot of the big fan theories, considering they're fucking weaving them into the show very blatantly at this point. So I have to imagine that they have seen the criticism that people were giving season 4 in terms of the episodes being just way too short. And a lot of people were saying it. They definitely noticed. But will MGM do anything about it? Will they rectify it in any way? I'm not very hopeful they will. No, I'm expecting regular length episodes, unfortunately.
Man, I'm so hoping that they do. I mean, they already know they knew it was a 5-season and then a hard end with no sequels or no cliffhanger, whatever. They knew that they were going to tie the story up with a bow. I would be so happy if MGM did, said we're going to leave it all on the table. We're going to leave you with a complete series that answers the things that are necessary, that gives you a satisfying resolution to all these different characters that we've wrapped up, except for the ones that they kill. And I think that could really set this series up for greatness. I mean, I love the idea that it didn't just run on and on until it gets canceled, or it didn't just peter out, or it's, and that's a drum I beat constantly as well. I love when things end. I love when things tie it up with a bow and give you a complete story, and then
a good ending.
They're done.
Yeah. No, me too. And that's that is one thing that we hopefully will get a solid definitive ending that Yes, I'm sure there will be aspects to the ending that will be left deliberately a little bit ambiguous. But for the most part, I'm hoping that they can tie this thing up as definitively as possible. And it seems like that's the goal. I mean, when we hear them talking about the ending, they at least feel confident that they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's.
I think it could. I mean, that could, like, given all the criticism, and again, I love the show all the way through. Some seasons more than some seasons more than others, some episodes more than others, some things about it more than others. But man, a good strong ending for me, with everything tied up with a bow. Maybe some of my favorite people will die, and maybe some of my favorite people will live.
I'm expecting them to. Yeah.
And maybe people I don't like will live, and I don't want them to. But it does, as long as it's all, settled down, as long as it's all put to bed properly, then that would make this a show where you could recommend it to somebody. Because how many shows do we recommend to people that's like, oh, it was great, like what was the one with the circus? The name escapes me.
Carnival.
I mean, so many of these shows that I loved the booth at the end, and you can recommend it to people and they get super into it, and then you have to tell them, oh yeah, by the way, it got canceled, so there wasn't any conclusion.
There's no definitive ending. It's so heartbreaking, man. I know. Especially with fucking Carnival.
It had so much potential, man. HBO. It seems, man, HBO never misses a chance to step on a rake.
No. HBO and Netflix, they never miss an opportunity to just get egg on their face with these stupid fucking cancellations. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But yeah. Going back to the beginning of From, been loving this so far, ladies and gents, and this is definitely something we are going to continue to do. Again, we're only 2 episodes into the first season. This Saturday, PM and I will be live. We'll be diving into season 1, episode 3 at that point. So if you guys have a chance to watch episode 3 between now and Saturday, definitely let me know what kind of things you guys pick up on, what new clues, what new theories are you going to be crafting now that we have season 4 in our memory bank.
Yeah, episode 3, the choosing ceremony.
Yes, the choosing ceremony, the Frank, the box episode. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to in episode 3. And yeah, I can't wait. I am definitely looking forward to it. And, from episode 3 on, we definitely start to see some more of the monsters' savagery, I guess you could say. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing where this show is going to take us. Where is season 5 going to take us? What new clues can we pick up on this rewatch, on this return to the beginning that we have been doing? And we shall see. See.
Yeah, it was a treat. I mean, if we hadn't, if you hadn't mentioned the show today, I probably wouldn't have gone back and watched them. But I watched 1 and 2 together, and it does bring back. It reminds me of what I fell in love with. So many years ago.
Me too. Me too. It does. I mean, you go back to these earlier seasons, season 1 in particular, these earlier episodes, and yeah, man, it's like shit. This is what I fell in love with. This is why I love this show so freaking much. You get to see all this craziness, and that's fun. That's always a ton of freaking fun.
Yeah, and having watched them probably a dozen times by now, all the episodes, not only for the show but just for enjoyment. Ones that I hadn't watched in a while, you go back, and I remember how I felt when I was watching it for the first time, when I was processing this. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why is Sarah, what is she doing? What is this? Why is anything happening? And sometimes we still don't know. It's funny to think, all years later we still don't know. But yeah, man, it was really good nostalgia, like short term, because 5 years isn't all that much time. But or 4 years, just short term nostalgia. I was like, okay, yeah, man, and I can see, I don't regret it one bit either. I don't regret the time spent, because this was such a so interesting, and these first 2 episodes really sunk
Yeah.
the hooks in.
Yeah.
Got them in early, and it's like, what the
Mhm.
hell is this place? Well, you have to know next week. Next week you have to know.
It was. I remember watching the first episode when it first premiered, way back when it was still Epix Network, and I remember having that feeling as soon as that first episode ended, like, holy shit! I cannot wait to fucking see the second episode. I cannot wait to see where this freaking thing is going to go. I was so hooked right from the very beginning. I know a lot of you were as well. I think that's why we love this show so much, because it just started off with such a freaking bang.
Oh yeah, and one thing, even throughout the seasons, the show has done so well is the cliffhangers. Even if the whole episode is kind of a drag for 40 minutes, they do usually stick the landing when they go for a good cliffhanger. And this one really set that stage perfectly. Episode 1, because it was the monsters coming. It was still raining. The rain was coming down. They were approaching the RV, and the monsters coming out of the woods. And we don't know what we still didn't know what they are, what they could do. Were they zombies? Was the talisman going to work? We still didn't know. It was like, and they left us with that cliffhanger. So satisfying. And this one here, what did they leave us with? They left us with Kenny and the boy in white. Yeah, the big boy in white reveal. That's what they left us with.
Yep, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, this is the first episode where we see the boy in white, like, for the actual first time. And again, I think it's very interesting how he comes and shows himself to Ethan first, right after Ethan just had that seizure and this dream of Victor's room, which I very much feel that the boy in white sent him that dream, sent him that seizure, all of that. But yeah, very good way to end this episode off on. I remember seeing that. I'm like, shit, who the fuck is this creepy boy in white? Because at this point, when you get to the end of episode 2, the only thing that's been established so far is the monsters only come out at night. They don't come out during the day. And I remember seeing this creepy boy at the end of episode 2 out there in the middle of the day, and I thought, holy shit, like, what's this now? What's this kind of new creature we're going to see? When I first saw the boy in white, I thought for sure he was going to be some other kind of monster. So yeah, this was just such a good way to end the episode off on.
Yep. So two great episodes to start the season, and then like you said, this weekend with PM, you'll be doing number 3.
Yes, we are going to dive into episode 3 this Saturday night. So again, if you guys have a chance to watch season 1, episode 3 between now and Saturday, let me know what stuff you guys pick up on, what new clues you end up seeing. Now that we have better context for the show after seeing season 4, let us know what you guys see in your rewatch as well. But yeah, very interesting. Love diving into all of this stuff right from the very beginning. We will continue to do so every single week right here on the channel. And with From season 5 officially starting filming already, they're already a few weeks into filming. So whatever news, whatever kind of information comes out of the season 5 set, anything that comes out at all, we will definitely be talking about it right away, and we will keep everybody posted on the progress, I guess we can say, of the season 5 filming. We actually got not a lot of leaks during the season 4 filming, which was a lot different from earlier seasons. I remember when they were filming season 2 and when they were filming season 3, there were tons of leaks coming out during the filming, but season 4 didn't have a whole ton. So I guess we'll see what happens with season 5. Will we get some interesting tidbits along the way? Whatever does come out, best believe we will be right here discussing it, along with doing all of our deep dives into from the very beginning. But there it is, folks. That is going to do it for our season 1, episode 2 deep dive. Definitely come back and hang out with us this Saturday as we tackle episode 3. And again, that's going to be a really fun one. We got the box, we got Frank, we got the choosing ceremony. A lot of interesting stuff happens in season 3. And we finally have Jade waking up in episode 3 as well. That is probably the highlight of the episode 3 for me, is Jade finally freaking waking up and thinking this whole thing is one giant escape room. So yeah, episode 3 is a fun one.
Very fun.
But thank you, folks, each and every one of you, for hanging out with us tonight. And, of course, a huge thank you to all of the wonderful individuals who have sent in Super Chats and Jewels tonight. I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. You guys are all absolutely awesome. So stay safe out there, folks. Keep those tinfoil hats on, and we will see all of you on the next one. Cheers.
Still driving around, huh?
It's the worst part. Can you still expect to find the road that takes you home? It's the part that's cruel.
Maybe we missed the sign for the highway.
We didn't miss the sign.
Where are we? So you're telling me I'm in a mystical town. I can't leave. These woods are not safe after dark.
I can still hear those things whispering. We are stuck.
I'm gonna find us a way out of this place.
Everyone in this town has been exactly where you are right now. There are things you need to know about where you are. This is gonna be the worst night of your life. Do you believe in monsters?